Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Members Only Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel and watching after the fact, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date and watch these members only streams as a member. Now, if you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they live, or if you're watching after the fact when they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Twine to Triangle, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealand, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I check that this live stream's actually working, given that this computer has crashed twice today. So I'll unmute the lines and you can enjoy their dulcet tones right now.
You can point the two sides of the sextant to any 2 points, and it will tell you the angle between them.
I'll just rewind 5 minutes when you defined elevation angle, and it requires a horizontal base. We're using the sea level for that. We're using the sea level.
Yeah, but that isn't like perfectly horizontal. That's why you don't call the angle you measure. That's why you don't call the angle you measure the sextant an elevation angle yet.
The sea level's at 0 degrees level. It's used as a horizontal baseline to obtain the elevation angle. That's how it's used in reality.
Yeah, you don't. Okay, the angle you measure, if you're getting the angle between the horizon and the celestial body, say a star.
It's an elevation angle.
That's called
an elevation angle.
That is called the height of the sextant. It is not an elevation angle yet. You have to make. Yeah, you have to apply a couple corrections before you can call that an elevation angle.
Yeah, right.
No, we're using the sea level as the horizontal baseline to obtain the elevation angle. It requires a horizontal baseline. Can't be done off a curve.
I think you heard what I just said.
Sea level is not curved. If you've got any evidence,
you heard what I just said. You're a retard.
This is complete nonsense.
I won't waste your time
here. The dip correction. You're talking about the dip correction. Is this a recording? Or
He's gone. He's gone. The minute QE called him a retard, he dropped.
He's trying to equivocate with the dip correction. I thought it was a recording. He's trying to equivocate with the dip correction. That's what he's trying to do.
That's not an equivocation, by the way.
Well, he's trying to make the dip correction to globe's geometric horizon.
He doesn't know what an elevation angle is.
Exactly.
Oh no, I think he does. I think he's trying to be. I think he was trying to.
He did define it correctly. Then he denied it later on.
But he didn't.
Yeah, we got another road.
I knew what I thought it was recording, so I didn't say something. I thought he was. What he was trying to do is try and claim that the correction would be from. This is why he was saying when you say but when you put the angle as 0, put the baseline, use the sea level, which is the baseline for 0, and he said no, you still need some corrections because the horizon that he's trying to claim is below the horizontal from underneath the boat. So he doesn't understand the dip correction. Yeah, that's what he's trying to do.
Like it's not an elevation angle yet. No. It is an elevation angle. That's what you measure. When you apply corrections, what are you applying corrections to? The elevation angle you've measured. Yeah? He was trying to do it the other way around and be a smart ass for no. And again, for what purpose? Not to further the argument, but to try and win a point that doesn't even exist.
I think it's time for the rubber ducky to come out.
Yeah.
What it means? Yeah, but what that means is that when they try that stuff, what they're trying to say is the correction is greater than the height of the observer's eye above the water underneath the boat. That's what they're trying to state, because the correction they're talking about would be a greater correction than that.
How many times, Brian, do we have to cite official navigation sources that say that the measurement is based on your eyeballs being on the water surface, which is the same as if you were on the equatorial plane, two horizontals. But if you're on the boat 10 feet above the water line, you got to minus that 10 feet so that you can have a right angle. But if you're in a rubber ducky and with the sextant and you're right on the water, there is no correction, which proves your point. The water is horizontal.
That correction you calculate, Tim, what do you apply it to?
Well, it's an obtuse angle unless you fix it with the correction because you're looking down at the horizon 10 feet above the water line. But if your eyes were on the water line, you wouldn't have to do the correction. It's self-explanatory.
I've got the correction. I've figured out I'm 10 foot, right? What am I applying that correction to?
The angle?
Yeah, the elevation angle. So when he says you've not got an elevation angle yet, you've not done your corrections, is he a bit arse about face or not grasping this?
No, he's trying to bring in the greater than height of y above, the greater than height of y correction. The globe's greater than height of y correction. Because he's trying to say it, he's trying to claim without saying it, that the horizon is the geometric horizon of a globe. So the dip will be from that horizon, which would be below the horizontal line underneath the boat, from that horizon up to Y line. You know the way
you're giving him too much credit.
No, I know what he was doing. I know what he was doing. Honestly, I've heard this 100 times from them trying to say things.
You're giving him too much credit, mate. All I heard was somebody trying to be a smart ass about the definition, and he got it wrong himself. That's what he was challenging one day on. No, you've not got an elevation angle yet. That's all he was saying, and he got it wrong.
Yeah.
Where did he go?
He heard QE's voice and ran off.
Oh. So that confidence he was talking to you with, it just disappeared when QE said.
What's his name? What was his name?
Bacon.
Anyone? Oh, no wonder.
Bacon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bacon knows better.
And how do you guys not realize that it's not a recording? It's one deck talking to somebody. I know it was Discord.
I thought
it was a recording.
So did I.
So did I.
Everyone did.
And me, I would have interjected sooner.
The whole thing. Go on, Adam.
I didn't know, but I knew someone would have to interject, and then I'd find out. So
you knew who would interject. I was interjecting into a video. It doesn't matter.
Where do you hear one deck other than poetry in a video?
I don't know. Nathan just came on thinking the show was going on, and I thought he was playing a recording.
That's what I thought.
We had another one in before that George booted out. We've had a couple of Globers in here. It's been fun. We destroyed them both.
Yeah, it has been hilarious.
So I don't understand why they leave just because they heard QE. They're intimidated.
Yes.
They're not.
Who else we got in here that's a new face? Child Force. Who's that?
Say again.
Child Force in Discord. Got a few new names.
We've got Greater Good. We've tried to get Greater Good to introduce himself and have a chat. He's not popped up yet. We're trying to get him involved just to ask some questions and have a chat about the nature of Earth, but he's not spoken yet.
To answer your question, Neil, yes, we intimidate these people. Very much so.
Well, when we discussed this a long time ago, when you use an artificial horizon, there is no dip correction. So what do you why is there no
hold on
dip
a second,
correction?
Ted. Hold on. Hey Child Force, how you doing?
Yeah, not good.
There's no intimidation here. I'm interested in what you're saying. I was just listening. Who seems to be a fountain of knowledge of this sort of stuff, so I've been listening to him.
Who? One Deck?
Pardon?
Who's a fountain of knowledge of this stuff? One Deck?
No, Jin CBR1.
Oh, okay.
You don't seem
He's
to
got
know
the
this
inside
name.
track
You
on
need
the
to know this
Wagyu.
name.
We know Jin. Don't worry.
He's full of knowledge and facts.
Yeah, we know Jin. I've known Jin for years. Don't worry about
Yeah, but you didn't back up. You need to back up the fact that he's full of knowledge and facts. It's good.
that. Oh, sorry.
But
I'll
I've been
blow up. Oh, no worries. I'll blow smoke up Jin's ass. He's ace.
Yeah, we've all
wicked.
got to blow it up.
We're all
Jin's
about
ass
blowing
because
smoke up
he's
people's
Kiwi's
asses. We
best
love it.
mate.
Yeah, man.
we all love Jin.
Guys, can you tell
Hold
this
on
is
a
the
second.
guy's first
What did
ever
Adam say?
introduction? Can it not be with 5 people talking through him? He's
This isn't
we're
no. I've
trying-
not. This isn't my first introduction. No, I'm just interested in what you're saying because obviously I was brought up thinking it was around spherical Earth and and how the Earth came about and everything like that. But then when I've listened to other people, and don't get me wrong, it's not just Jin. I'm not basing what I think on Jin, but when I listen to other people, I do think that some of it holds some logic, but some of it doesn't. So I'm a skeptic. I'm an in-betweener, a misfit right now.
What doesn't?
Logic.
Yeah, what part doesn't?
okay. Well, it's
Well,
nice
it's
to,
what's
okay. Everyone's hesitant about what to do next. Well, it's nice to have you. You say this isn't your first introduction. I've never seen you before, so if I've said hello to you,
No, that's cool. I've only introduced myself once before in here, but I was in the Flat Earth server and everything like that. So obviously, I was listening to what they were saying as well. It does intrigue me and it does interest me. I'm not going to say that I'm a flat earther and I believe in flat Earth because I've spent 42 years of my life being told it's spherical. So I am looking into it and I am researching it though. So yeah, I'm just having a listen to be fair, and then I'll interject if that's okay. If I've got a question or if I feel I need to know anything.
Absolutely, by all means.
What's your name?
I appreciate that. Pardon?
Just reintroduce yourself and firstly, welcome. And if you got questions, ask. But what was your name, dude?
My name's Alex.
Alex, nice to meet you, Adam.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I don't know your name, but I'm sure the more I come in here, the more I get to know it all.
He's Alex, is a friend of mine. We run a server together. We've got Jen in our server as well.
Hey, Alex, it's 10th Man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
Good. Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
Is there something in your past that you thought was true, but later found out wasn't true?
Yeah, the Earth being spherical.
No, not that. No, just something else.
But no, there's lots of things. Obviously, vaccines and stuff like that. I mean, I think COVID vaccine has obviously brought it to light with the fact that you're not going to turn a vaccine round in 9 months or whatever, or however long it took. But that calls into question all the other vaccines. And this is the logic that I say that when I listen to Jin and other people, I just example Jin because obviously I've spoken to him a lot more than other people.
No, my question is more directly to you in your past experience. Have you believed in something for a while and then later found out it was not true?
Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, all of that sort of stuff.
Okay. Now,
the usual stuff.
no, that's perfect. That's perfect. So
Question,
let me finish my question, if I may. So once it came to that point to make a decision, did you use reason and logic, or how did you make the decision Easter Bunny wasn't true?
I'd have to use facts and what I know and seen with my own eyes, and the facts that I know from what people have told me to what I've then researched. Like I say, Jin, I've listened to you guys say stuff. I don't know if you're probably all in the Flat Earth server and that, but I've listened to people saying stuff, and I have gone off and looked into it myself, and I had sat there and thought, actually, what they're saying makes sense.
I apologize
I'll say.
for interrupting again, but I'm not talking about flat Earth. I'm talking about
but I tried to ask you for a specific thing. Yeah, I went to answer your question, and you seem to be trying to get blood out of a stone. I went to answer your question. You said, "Is there anything in my past that I believed in that I don't believe now?" And I went into the vaccines thing, but you shut me off from that, so I went on to something else. And now you shut me off from that.
Just to clarify,
what do you want me to go on to and say?
The reason he's shut you down for that is because this is a YouTube broadcast, and there's certain things we just can't talk about. So don't take that personally.
Oh no, that's fine. But explain that. That's all I'm saying. So so we're talking about science and pseudoscience of whether I've believed something in the science world to then be proven false to me in my later life. Are you saying? Is that what you're asking?
No. This is a standalone question.
I'll be more specific with your question.
Well, I'm trying to finish. The standalone question was the Easter Bunny, which I thought was perfect on your part. How did you get over that? Did you use reason and logic to realize it's just a fairy tale?
Well, I knew that the Easter Bunny didn't know my address. Therefore, how could it be delivering me eggs? I mean, I don't think that's a good example. Though.
It's an excellent example. You've no idea how great an example that is. Great response.
I'm not stupid, you know what I mean?
But you feel you've been led somewhere that you don't know, and you're being led beautifully, because that's a perfect example. You use reason and logic then.
Yeah, reason and logic that nobody else, or sorry, this so-called Easter Bunny doesn't know where I live. I mean, it wasn't long after that I found out the Easter Bunny. You know, I thought the Easter Bunny looked like something like out of Donnie Darko or something. It's not. That was my belief, or that was my. I didn't think it was some cute, fluffy little thing, from what I can remember, and I don't think I don't feel devastated when somebody told me something wasn't real. Like I was just about to go into the earth again, but I'm not. Like the vaccines, I had them when I was younger. I'm not devastated to hear that vaccines aren't proven to work, etc. But
we've got to
does it affect my life?
Hold on, let's hear Adam's response to that as a pharmacist.
It's not as a
but I
pharmacist.
don't think vaccines are proven.
You're going to have to tolerate a reply, my friend. Hold on, Child Force. Go ahead, Adam.
That's not as a pharmacist, just as a YouTuber. Can we just keep the
as a YouTuber
analogies away from more contentious things that don't really help the conversation and can only kind of aggravate YouTube terms of service?
Wow. I think that's censorship, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are?
That's correct.
I think that's
censorship.
Yes, that is correct.
That is exactly why we're doing it. If we're a flat Earth channel, so we don't want to discuss topics.
You just shut me down talking about flat Earth. I don't get this channel. I'm going to mute. I'm going to listen to you guys, because obviously I don't understand this channel. Like I said, you're telling me it's a flat Earth channel. I went to talk about flat Earth, you shut me down. I went to talk about something else, you shut me down. Like, I'm going to have a listen. Let me have a listen over the next half an hour and see what you're all about. Yeah?
I was just asking the analogies to less contentious subjects that can trigger YouTube terms of service. That's all.
To be fair, no one shut you down on talking flat Earth. No one shut you down.
Well, you kind of did. You're trying to patronisingly ask me the question again when I've given you the answer on something that
I asked
and it's coming out of my mouth.
Well, it's recorded.
But anyway, listen, I'm not going to argue on a live. Let me have a listen to what you're about over the next half an hour, and then I'll probably interject after that. Because obviously I don't understand.
Cool.
Fair enough.
Why is it even going this way?
No, fair enough. He doesn't want to talk about it.
I'll tell you
just one at a time. I can hear 10.
The savage American fucking put it this way. I'm telling you why it's going this way, and you need to listen to me. The patronising manner in which somebody asked me a question to which I went to answer, to which I was shut down giving the answer, and then to find out 5 minutes later that you are a flat Earth server, and he said, we're not about flat Earth in here. Well, you evidently are, because you're a flat Earth server. So let me have a listen over the next half an hour rather than arguing with me anymore, because I've said I don't need to argue. I've made my point. You crack on with your conversation.
Okay, everybody else wants to talk continually. And
I'll interject when I feel comfortable, and I'm not going to be patronised for giving an answer that's coming out of my mouth that's to a question that somebody has asked me within this channel, and maybe I won't offend YouTube terms of service and quite evidently your own terms of service. So I do apologise. Let me have a listen, and I'll interject in a bit. Good day to you.
Are you going to wait for half an hour or not? I'm unsure. Can you say it for the third time?
Dude, I obviously need half an hour to answer your fucking question.
What he's pointing out to you, my friend, is that you've said 3 times that you'll pop yourself on mute and then not interject. But then you've told us 3 times that you're not going to interject. That's effectively interjecting continually. Do you understand?
Am I just about to take on a whole fucking server here? Like,
stop swearing. Okay, my 6-year-old daughter's sat playing Minecraft. I don't want you swearing. Please. Hello? It's bad enough that you
don't listen. Whether your daughter's playing Minecraft...
Shut up! That means shut up. If you don't like being taken charge of by me, then you're going to have to be removed from the server. You've said you're going to shut up. You won't. Now you're continually talking. That's irritating. Yeah? Now, either you shut up, like you've said you'll do 3 times, or I'll have to shut you up. Which one's it going to be?
Window, like a flat Earth fucking brick. Load my AK-47.
Prick. You've just been removed,
prick. Pick him out.
Now you're muted, prick. Okay, prick? You don't tell us over and over again that you're going to shut up and listen and then continually talk through everybody. Yeah, I tried to have some empathy. I tried to say I agree. I tried to say I listen. I gave you your time to talk. Now, shut up. It's that simple. Totally unreasonable behaviour.
Can I please detail? Hang on, Neil. Hang on, Neil. Hang on. Can I please detail what happened there? The lad came in. He didn't know what the lay of the land was in here. He said he just wanted to sit back and listen. If he has a question, he'll interject. That's what he said he wanted to do. And then, Kent, you start asking him questions, putting him on the spot that he didn't want to be on. Hang on. He didn't want to be on. And then he didn't understand when you said, no, not about the Earth. I don't even know what you were looking to get out of him. I don't know what information you were looking to get out of him. Does it matter does it matter whatever there was some topic in the past that he thought was real, turned out wasn't? It doesn't matter. He didn't know what you were looking for. He couldn't talk about, he said he couldn't use the topic of the show as an example. Then he couldn't use the other example because it's controversial with YouTube. So I think he just got frustrated.
No. That's one way.
Hang on. He said.
Finish.
Yeah, I will when you leave me. He said that he just wanted to sit back and listen. And if he has something he wants to know or something he wants to ask, he will. And he wasn't allowed to do that.
He kept talking.
Are you finished?
I think I'd agree with.
Are you finished now before I respond?
I agree with Brian.
Fine. Everyone agree with him. Is everyone done so I can respond?
It's not an indictment to you, Kent.
I'm not worried about it. I just want to respond.
You asked the question, and I think he was trying to get out of it a number of times, and all of us were just trying to engage, and he didn't want to engage. He did ask a number of times, so that's all I heard.
I'm not. Yeah. Look, I don't care. I just want to explain what I was doing, and what happened is different than the way Brian saw it. The guy came on and he said he listened to the globe side and the flat earth side, and he's in the middle. He's kind of stuck. He's kind of like waiting to have something happen before he makes a decision, which got me to think, okay, has he ever been there before? In my mind, this was racing through my mind. Has he ever changed his mind on something else that he was stuck in the middle? So that's why I asked the question. And I didn't want to approach it on ball earth or flat earth because he's stuck there. So why would I use that as the basis? Because he just told us he doesn't know. So I wanted him to give me another event in his life where he thought something, because he said 42 years or something, I was told this thing, and now, I'm kind of like stuck. I'm listening to both sides. So my thing was to say, well, was there something else in your life where for a while, not 42 years, whatever, that you thought was real, but then later found out it wasn't? He said, yeah, the Easter Bunny. And I said, okay, did you use logic and reason when you came to that decision? The question from my part was to advise him use the same reason and logic with the globe earth and flat earth, but we never got to there because he got defensive. I'm talking now, guys, Brian, because he got defensive because he knew he wasn't willing to say that. So he got huffy puffy, changed the paradigm of the question to make it look like we were all attacking him when I was calm and just asking him questions. My whole thing was,
to be asked questions.
I'm in the middle of talking, Brian. My question, my question, oh gosh, forget it.
So I was just saying the Guns, the Glober who was on before with George, has come back and he went back for some information. He's come back now, Guns.
I definitely need to try and focus on actually doing my work, but I'm more than happy to just listen in.
No, you must argue with us.
No, because I have hundreds of tickets to look into, idiots.
It's okay, but meanwhile, did you find the curvature of the Earth, meanwhile, or not?
No comment, because otherwise I'll do exactly what I said I don't want to do. There are bug tickets that need my attention.
We'll wait.
People are allowed.
Hold on a second, Brian.
To make their
I just want to hear his last comment. He said something about tickets. I know he doesn't want to engage with us, but I do want to hear his last statement before he shuts down and just listens, as he puts it. What was the last thing he said? Sorry.
Tickets. So I'm a web software. I'm a web software developer. I have tickets of discrete tasks to do, to sort, to fix, to get frustrated at and wonder why the human species can't put more information than just "it's broken." So yeah, that's pretty much my case.
I got you.
There are many of those to solve.
I got you. You're dealing with tickets, which means you're busy dealing with jobs, and
exactly.
You're moaning about idiots because doesn't work or is broken, isn't as useful as if it was a computer, powers on but then shuts down after 15 seconds or something to that effect.
Yeah, basically, we literally will get tickets that just say, doesn't load. Okay, what doesn't load? What were you doing? Like, what led you to this injustice in your life for this to happen?
Gotcha. Okay, well, we'll leave you to it, but hopefully you'll pipe up if something is so urgent that you feel it needs to be. or continually tell us 5 times that you're going to pop yourself on mute. That also works.
I'm going to put myself on mute.
10 to that they're leaving, right? Because he was trying to explain what we already knew, which was that he was asking the guy a question, right? Asking the guy questions when the guy had specifically stated he didn't want to engage. You can't force someone to engage. If someone, no means no, end of story. You can't, if someone makes a decision, that's their decision. They can sit there and listen all day long or do whatever they want to do. That's their decision. You can't try and go, well, I think maybe if I do this might change his mind on that. It's like, forget all of that. He said he doesn't want to engage. That's the end of that.
Okay.
You have to respect people's wishes.
Hold on. When I said, why does it have to go this way? I was really standing up for him. Wasn't saying the other way. I agree.
Was that the first
time?
That way at all. Was that the first or the third time?
14.
But then he got annoying, so then I said kick him out. But at first I was like, why does he even have to go this way?
Yeah, but then you said kick him out when you knew the problem started with him being put under pressure.
Yeah, because
he didn't want to be put under.
Then he started going a little crazy. So hey, he started saying something about Nathan's kid playing Minecraft. I thought he was going to go into another area, so don't even let him. Everything's fine. It's done.
Well,
welcome to the server.
You've got to have some empathy. The guy was getting frustrated being put in a corner by 10th, right? And as much as 10th might say he's not, he's here in a voice server. So on the one hand, you think, well, he said he doesn't want to talk. Okay, well, get out of the voice server. Just watch on YouTube. It'll come out in a couple of days. What do you want? But
no, but he said he was going to ask questions.
Nearly there, Neil. Nearly there. But the point is, he started swearing. Well, I don't want my kid to hear that. She doesn't need to hear that. It's bad enough that she's hearing that the Easter Bunny's not real.
I told my kids the Easter Bunny wasn't real and Santa wasn't real.
I'm not understanding the whole situation.
Well,
Can somebody else explain it to me?
I think Neil's just decided that he's going to tell my kid Santa's not real.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Neil.
the situation. He just can't think before he just.
Oh yeah, Brian, I can't.
I want to scream out cross words, but I can't. The situation is, QE, that the guy was brought off of mute. He didn't ask to come off mute. He was called out. Who are you? He came off mute. He explained himself. He said he didn't want to engage, just wanted to listen in. And if he had some questions, he might ask them later on after he's listening in. Right?
Brian.
He wasn't allowed to do that.
Brian, I was being facetious, man.
Personally, he's a good guy, and he didn't know we were live. He honestly did not know we were live, and he wouldn't have swore. He's actually, it's one of them ones, man.
I've got no hard feelings towards the guy. Right. He's put in a corner, put under pressure. Next thing you know, he's getting agitated. Yeah, then he's put under more pressure, and then he couldn't stop himself. He couldn't stop talking. Kiwi, bear with me. He couldn't stop talking when he was saying, "I'll just excuse myself from the conversation." Then, okay, if he'd have just done that, that would have been the end of it. But he continually talked, and that doesn't help things. If you're saying I'm going to remove myself from the conversation, okay, well we'll move on with the conversation then. Unless you keep talking, then we can't.
Yeah, man, I get that. As I say, I know him personally, and he didn't know we were live, or he would not act. He probably wouldn't even unmuted if he knew we were live.
Well, fair enough. Pass him on my apologies. There's been some confusion with computer crashes today, which is my fault, not his. So, it's ambiguous from his perspective. Again, my fault, not his. So if you know him, let him know the host of the show apologise personally.
I will do.
Thank you.
I want to hear Adam's take. I want to hear Adam's take on what happened.
I'd like to hear 5 people at once, please.
I think you let him know that the panel turned on themselves. I think Brian's accusing Tam for being a debate rapist. No means no.
Wow. That's a good one.
That's the best term all day. Debate rapist.
My choice.
That's great.
That was great. It was.
Yeah, that was the funniest escalation of nothing, is what I witnessed.
A debate rapist?
That was classic. I hope you recorded that.
Don't say it too many times. It'll set off the algorithm. Susan will yeet us off YouTube if we're not careful.
Yeah, I was
Also, Nathan,
more of Go on, sorry, Roger, you want to say something, Nathan?
Just really quick, did you mute the guy, Nathan?
Yeah, I had to. He couldn't shut up.
Right, but you didn't server mute him. You locally muted him. So next time he comes on, he's going to be on mute, and you won't know it. You got to use the server mute.
Because I so rarely mute people. I pressed the wrong mute button is what Righteous Force is telling me, which pretty much tells you how often I use those buttons. It's not often that someone will tell you 4 times that they're going to shut up and then don't. At some point, you've got to do something, right?
Right, but next time, remember when you see him on again, you got to untake him off local mute because he's only locally muted to you, not to us.
Okay.
Brian, go on.
Okay, if I muted more often, I'd do it properly. I don't do it that often. And
Righteous is doing his job.
Ironically, I'm going to get interrupted, of course, by Neil, of course. Ironically, I'm accused of being the mute king, and that's the reason they don't want to come in, right? But what I'm actually having happen is my server mod is telling me off for not muting him correctly. Anyway.
Well, look, the whole event was Nathan. It was your fault anyway, Nathan, because you're the host of the show, and it's up to you to keep everything on an even
Absolutely.
keel.
No, I take full responsibility. That was entirely my fault. I should have stopped 10th at the point that I could detect he was getting agitated. The problem is, I just started the live show. All I'm doing is looking at voltages. That's all I'm doing. So on the one hand, I am engaging him, but on the other hand, I'm not doing a good job as a host. Now that's not his fault. But you're right, Brian. It is my responsibility. I'm not going to shed that or shirk that responsibility. So yeah, that's why I told whoever who knows him to say no. The host of the show apologise personally because it is my responsibility to make sure he feels at home. So being put under pressure immediately when he said he doesn't want to be, letting it persist, and then getting annoyed with him because he's ruining my show when he's been put under pressure and that's why he's agitated is totally unreasonable on my part. So it is my fault. I have taken ownership of this, Brian.
Oh, well, I was only being sarcastic with you because I know that you're looking at stuff with your computer. So I wasn't actually attacking.
Not his fault. It's not his problem. Who cares? He doesn't care that, does he? That's no. Yeah.
Just so you know, I wasn't accusing you of it.
Well, even if you weren't, if you weren't, it makes no difference because I have and I will take ownership of things like that when a guest, which is what he is here, gets treated poorly. In his estimation, it might be only, but by some people's, standards, they say, oh, it's only him. Well, no, I disagree. We want to make people feel welcome. He wasn't, so that's not good. My sincerest apologies.
Usually, though, you wouldn't be. Usually, you're on those things. You go, no, 1 second, be quiet, and you're keeping clarity. Because that's the main thing with a host with a lot of people is keeping the clarity. Like, so everyone knows the topic that's being discussed, or everyone knows why something is happening. Because being a host, you must listen to everybody. Haven't you?
Well, you've also got to shut Neil up quite.
Control.
You've got to tell Neil to shut up occasionally.
It probably doesn't help for me to come in the middle of that and sing feelings.
Yeah, that was totally escalated.
Yeah, I didn't care. I just heard feelings.
It's Friday.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. It's Freaky Friday, so I expected as much.
I'm sorry. Did you say my body, my choice? Is that what you said?
Yes, my mic, my choice.
No, he said
my mic, my choice. I felt uncomfortable when Ted started asking questions.
Well, because he's a debate rapist.
Where's he gone? Is he gone? It's 10th.
I think he got manned and left. That's surprising.
Well, Ted was trying to. Sorry, very quickly, John. Ted was trying to explain why he made the guy uncomfortable or why he did what he did. But it doesn't matter why he did it. The person said no. You let it at that. Because to me, it was like one of those people you meet on the street who work for a company or have something, an agenda of some kind, and they go to talk to you, and you go, as you're walking past them, you know, they have a clipboard or something, you go, no thanks. And then they try and continue talking to you. It's like, no means no. End of story. That was how I viewed it.
Hit him with it, chocolate.
Feelings.
My body, my choice.
Yeah, but the guy did answer. The guy said the Easter Bunny. That's what I was confused about. The guy gave an example.
Wait a second. I'm not getting this. What actually happened? John, refracted curvature. Can you give us your take on what had happened?
You know, why is this? No, but what I'm saying is the guy did give an example, so why wouldn't
because he was
take it
put
from
on the
there?
spot, Neil. Because he was
Yeah,
put
but
on
he
the spot.
gave one, so why did it not
Yeah, but why?
continue?
Yeah, but because he didn't want to. Yeah, because he didn't want to be rude. Like he had already made his. He already said his position, made his position clear, and then it became. But what about this thing? What about that? And he's like, yo, he ended up having to answer questions that he said he didn't want to have to be answering. No, yeah, and you were on his side at first, and then you were attacking him.
Well, when he started getting crazy and said he was going to leave and not leave, leave and not leave, and then he started the other thing. But what I'm saying is, he re-asked the question. When a guy gave him an answer, he could have went further from there, but he re-asked the question. That's where I was confused. He asked him again.
I'm not understanding. Who else is in Discord so we can get their take on it?
Stop it now. It was funny the first two times.
I'm here.
I'm here.
It's
your fault, one deck.
Neil, don't you think it's unreasonable of him to come here for the first time and not know all of our standards and comply with them instantly?
Absolutely. Why is he not
Hang out of
listening?
order.
He's not keeping up with the flat earth debate. How dare him?
I think I'm going to have to blame Righteous.
He should. I was going to say that.
Yeah, needs a better introduction of server rules.
Oh,
And
Appalling.
should have muted him right away.
Appalling that people get leery when they're badgered by 15 other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we gotta prep him for the show now, eh? Okay.
I think we have to stop being
say
such
the wrong
aggressive
thing, and
dicks
these guys will chew your head
at
off.
times.
How do you prep people for that?
So how do we
My bad,
do it?
Adam.
Come on in, sit down and relax. If you hear something you want to interject, feel free, my son. Come on.
I think if G plus smells blood, he needs to just hold back a little bit. We were like, it was a little bit newbie. I want a piece.
I don't. It wasn't that way for me. I wanted him because he sounded to me like he was swaying more to flat Earth, especially if you're speaking in him. So I thought it would have been productive.
Your behavior was a good example. 1 minute he was a friend, next minute you wanted him destroyed.
Did you say reproductive? Did he say? Did you say reproductive?
No, I said it would have been productive.
Oh, I thought you said reproductive. Wait, listen. I want somebody. I'm in Discord right now, Russ. I really need to know. I want your take on this, and I want it with a hypothetical and an analogy to make it clear for me. Russ, please.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm here. You want my take on this?
No, he doesn't.
Yes.
No, he does not.
He's being sarcastic.
Okay.
No, that's not sarcasm. That's facetiousness. Get your phrases correct.
Okay, sorry.
We could talk about other things like
the Paul was denying time zones. What about that?
Yeah.
The denying longitude lines. I'd say mostly you have to watch my mostly you didn't watch my. I would say definitely didn't watch my latest video, right? Because the title of it, you would have gone, I'm not watching that, right? But it's about time zones, right? And I have another one I'm going to bring out, I reckon. And basically, I'm pointing out how Australia and the USA are very equal in size, yet the time zones are completely different. I had a video some time back called longitudinal reassignment, where I think, Neil, are you off mute? Where longitudinal reassignment, where I was saying that if you take the Gleason's map and you put places like Australia into their correct size, right, and you take them away from what their latitude and longitude positions that are shown on the Gleason's map, then you'll have a more correct world map. Now, I don't think we'll ever have, well, at this present time, we certainly don't have a correct world map, right? But the point I was making is what they do, see, what the Gleason's map does is it takes the latitude and longitude grid and it lays it out correctly without any, that is exactly how it should be laid out. But then underneath it, Gleason put in a globe projection, basically, which stretched everything south of the equator. That's why Australia has 3 or 4 longitude lines going through it. But in reality, and people get this mixed up as well, in reality, there is 4 or 5 time zones across the United States. I think it's 4. Could be 4 or 5, right? So if you take in Alaska as well, right? But there was only 2 in Australia. Now, people think there's 3 because there's another small one they try and add in. They try and fool people with the way they do it. They give an Eastern Australian time, a Central Australian time, and a Western Australian time. But the problem is the Eastern Australian time, let's say if that's 10 o'clock in Sydney, then it's 8 o'clock in Perth. That means 2 hours, right? The longitude lines, the main lines, they're all based on 24 hours of sun. That's the sun passing over that point at 15 degrees, right? 1 hour. 15 degrees, 2 hours. 15 degrees, 3 hours. That's how it's laid out, right? Because the thing about the latitude and longitude grid is, right, it has 2 purposes. One is to show us it's based on the sun, and the other one is to show the GP point, let's just say, of any celestial body in relation to the GP point of Polaris, because it all starts and ends with Polaris. So what they don't understand is that if you have, because at 10 o'clock Eastern time in Sydney, let's just say, right, in Australia, and then the next time zone they try and claim is 9:30, right? It's half an hour. It's like, what, 9:30? And then the next time zone is 8 o'clock. That's half an hour from 10 to 9:30. Then an hour and a half from 9:30 to 8. But that's not how time zones work. It's one time zone is an hour, the next one is another hour, and that's how you determine how many time zones. If you're using the latitude and longitude grid correctly, and how Gleason laid it out to be used, which is the correct way, which is for as a time calculator, that means that Australia has 2 time zones: 10 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock, Australia over. That's 2 hours it takes for the sun to go, or for, let's say, the sun at solar noon in Sydney will be 2 hours ahead of the sun at solar noon in Perth. And Sydney's on the east coast, Perth's on the west coast, right? That's the end of that. Now, I brought out the longitudinal reassignment video some time back, and then a while later, Recife, the French sailor, he spoke about time zones, and it just amalgamated with exactly what I was saying. That's exactly what I was saying, but what he pointed out was made more sense. Not much more, not more sense, but it pointed out what I was pointing out, and he showed it, and it was stupid because I'd forgotten about time zones from not talking about them for years. It was something we were talking about a long time ago, but I forgot about it. Just never entered my head. But the point is that there is only 2 time zones in Australia. If you look at the position of Australia, the latitudes of Sydney and Perth, right, then that would mean that, and Northern Australia, that if you look at, and because Sydney and Perth are not at Southern Australia, they're on the coast. So you have to go down south to southern Australia. You have Melbourne and all that down lower than Sydney, let's just say, or out further latitude-wise, right? If you were to compare both of them on the globe, Australia and the United States, then Australia has to have four longitude lines running through it. Has to have 4 time zones, like the United States has. It doesn't have. It has 2, and the United States has 4 or 5, if you add in Alaska. So there's no way out of that. And now they're all denying, oh, they're just political, and you don't understand. And Wally tried to tell me, no, the time zones are just wider across Australia, right? Not understanding what he's saying.
Can I share something? Somebody in Discord asked 20 minutes ago if they can jump in on this time zone topic, and I stated yes in 3.5 hours when Brian's done.
Well,
that's a low blow.
That's a low blow, but I'm trying to explain something. I'm trying to explain and also promote myself. I have to do the 2 things.
I was listening and I was fascinated, Brian.
Thank you, Nathan.
Get him, Irish.
Yeah, but he's right. Australia's bigger, right? How come we have 3 time zones?
My body, my choice.
But it's not. It's about the same. Actually, the USA is slightly wider.
You're stupid.
I understand
Sorry,
what you're
Brian, my
saying,
bad.
Brian. Yeah, I know, but still, there should be more than 2 time zones. No.
Not in reality. If you look at the latitude and longitude grid and you put Australia into its correct size, then no, there is only 2. If you unstretch what Gleason shows on his map and you keep the latitude and longitude grid as he has it, then there is only 2, and in reality, there is only 2. They try and pretend there's a 3rd one when there isn't. The longitude lines on Gleason's map are markings of the sun. So you can't have 10 o'clock in Sydney and 8 o'clock in Perth and have 3 time zones. You can only have 2. It's impossible. I have a video, I think I'm going to bring it out later, showing the same scenario in the United States and how it doesn't work.
You have somebody in Discord. I think this was lost to the fact of my facetiousness. Somebody in Discord wants to add something. I think his name is Guns. Is that correct? Guns.
He's the guy from earlier saying he had a lot of tickets to deal with.
Oh, is that the same? I'm sorry. Yeah, forget about it. Carry on.
I think it would be better if we focus on it so that we're talking about him, making him feel obliged to join in or get angry. No? Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, one rule for one person, it seems. Oh, this computer seems stable.
I think he took my comment of 3.5 hours. He left. He'll be back in 3.5 hours. Took it literally.
This computer seems
These
nice
wise
and stable now.
ears.
Whatever of the multiple settings I changed, one of them's had an effect, which is good.
Also, Nathan, I was thinking, if you want to test the computer with Discord, I can create you a private channel where it's just you alone in Discord.
I don't. If I want to use Discord, I'm just shameless. I just go in anywhere and don't care.
Oh, okay. Oh. All right.
He
needs the stress, righteous.
Yeah, I need the actual load. Correct. So when I joined the other day, I was joining on QE show, and he was like asking me questions. I'm like, pretend I'm not here. Testing my computer. Shush. Yes.
I'm on a live show, and he comes into the show to test his equipment.
Yeah,
so
like I say, I don't need
volumes or what?
I don't need a separate room making. I'll just trouble other people.
That's alpha Chad shit right there, boy.
That's Charlie Chad.
Total
shit,
entitlement,
dude.
yeah. Total
Charlie
selfish
Chad.
entitlement. Absolutely correct.
Adam, are you there?
Wait, there's a Charlie Chad now?
Did you want to carry on covering Matthew Learn / Matthew Weathers /
Yes.
Matthew Adventures?
Wait, it's Matthew Adventures now?
Well, no, what he's done,
going on here?
right, what he's done is he's put the response on a channel that's got about 6,000 subs, which for us is amazing. That's a big channel, right? But considering he's got 500,000 subs on his other channel, he's decided to put his double down onto an unknown channel as far as, you know, numbers are concerned. As small as us. You know, that's how small it is. Let's put it the other way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue then.
Okay, well, I'll go and get it. I just wanted to check to make sure I'm not like, you know.
Not as small as you. You ain't got 6,000. How many you got? You got like 28,000 or something?
25. But my point is, he's got 500,000 on the channel that we objected to, and the rebuttal has gone on to a different channel. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, see, weaseled out, Chocolate. Are you getting the vibe?
Oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're getting the vibe. He put it on a lesser known channel of his. He's got 2 channels that we know of.
Yeah, and he put it on his smaller one. Little tiny one.
Yeah.
I get it.
Let's get somebody else's take on it. Adam Price, what's your take on this? I need an analogy, an allegory, and a hypothetical for completeness.
I think 6 more times it'll still be funny.
You know, that's some pansy stuff right there.
That's some what? Pansy?
Yeah, like namby-pamby. What pansy?
Are you still discussing time zones?
We hadn't even started discussing time zones.
What was his name? Chris going on about time zones for like 3.5 hours. Quantum Eraser.
I obviously don't
It
know
was
what this is
Brian.
about.
Brian, there you go.
Oh, Brian.
Nathan already forgot about it.
No, he said Chris. I thought he was talking about something else. When I said we hadn't even got
I'm
into
bad
it,
at names.
when I said we hadn't even got into it, I meant Brian. You know, we've listened to what Brian's had to say on it, but that's about it, right? We haven't even digested what Brian said yet. Unless you're now fully versed with what Brian said, and you could reiterate it back to me in a way that I could understand, because I'm gonna have to hear that at least 5 more times before I could regurgitate it. Why are you laughing? I mean that sincerely. Maybe that's why you're laughing.
No, I did want. I personally wanted to comment on it. I hate time zones. There are even half-hour time zones. It's insane.
That you came off mute. That's all you got when I brought you up. That's it.
I brought up before. I wanted to talk.
Yeah, time zones.
His body, his choice.
Yeah, but the reason the time zones are so screwed up is because they have to screw them up. Have you seen the guy Recife? He's a French sailor. Taboo Conspiracy. If you go to Taboo Conspiracy 3, I don't know if you know, but if you watch Taboo Conspiracy, he has videos out. And this man, this sailor, he was a 26-year sailor, and he points out stuff. And one of the videos is about time zones, and he shows the ridiculousness of time zones and about the ridiculousness of what has to happen at the Bering Strait, and how the time zones are all screwed up, kind of purposefully, and how none of them fit the globe and none of them fit reality. But the reason they're screwed up is because they're trying to promote globe. That's basically the reason. But in Australia, you see, time zones are longitude lines. That's what they are. So the main longitude lines, the portion between them is 15 degrees, and that's 1 hour of movement for the sun. That's how they're determined. So there's only there's one longitude line that cuts through Australia. There's one to the east of it, one to the west of it, and one through the middle. That's 2 time zones. There's more than one longitude. There's 3 longitudes or 4 longitude lines that cut through the United States. Proving the Earth cannot be a globe. The sun proves it. Can't be a globe. This proves everything. All parts of heliocentrism disproved by that one point.
It can be a globe if you measure it flat first.
And measure all the time zones.
Matthew learns. Yeah. Where's Matthew?
I don't know. Nathan was going to
what
say
I'm
the
going to
video.
do, QE, is I'm going to get a proper thumbnail because I've already got one made. I'm just going to add a B onto it and change the colour of the lettering. And then put that on the live stream, which I'm literally in the process of doing as we speak. Once I've done that, I'll actually release this to the public, and then we'll carry on with Matthew Learns.
Okay.
I think it's interesting. He stated it.
You're not going to go live again, are you?
Yes, that's my point. I'm going to go to the public live, yes.
Okay.
In the beginning of his video, he stated that he...
Go ahead, John.
In the beginning of his video, he stated that he was not lying. And then the first thing he did was give an example of him lying by omission, by not putting the information that he accepted as true on the show out there.
Are we going to start it from the beginning?
No, we'll do it from where we left off. What we did do on the live show, we got 20 minutes. We got up to, I did go and review it. We got up to him with the clock, with the funny hand. So I'll scan through it. Although I'm literally now, this second, going to go live, just so you're aware. Well, we were already live to members, but we're going to go live to the public now, just so you know.
Okay. Yep.
We were up to, well, kind of waiting to find out. He's started to re-explain what he's already apologized for. I'm not sure if we've got to the point whether or not he is definitely doubling down or explaining why he was wrong.
Humans
it feels more
cannot
like why
sense
he's trying to
speed. We
re-explain
can
why
only
he's
feel
right.
acceleration and rotation. And the other rotations around the sun and around the galactic core are even less of a factor. Do you think a tiny ant standing on the hour hand of a clock would notice it moving? That hour hand is rotating at twice the rate compared to the daily rotation of the Earth. And then when Nathan played that part of my video on his show, here's what he said. Twice the rate compared to the daily rotation of the Earth.
Oh, really? You think that the outside edge of a clock goes at 2,000 miles per hour?
No, that's not what I think.
Wow, you really are stupid.
No, I am not.
So, are we going to get to him disclaiming what he conceded here personally to me or not? See, when you talk about edge velocity, that's the speed.
Right. And that's why I was careful to say rate and not speed.
The ant would be. You said it was really slow. You said that it was slow when it's 1,000 miles an hour, and then you conceded here that that was deceptive. Matthew, what's the best word for this? Shyster. Fraud. Yeah, you're a deceiver. That's what you are. It's just a fact. Now, your objection to me calling you a shyster is proven here by you now doubling down on the exact thing you conceded as being deceptive when you said it was, quote, very slow when you give it in an angular rate. Yet it's claimed to be, on a fantasy ball, 1,000 miles an hour rim velocity at the equator. That's not very slow. Making you a shyster. That's not doubling down. That's a reaffirmation of you being a shyster.
Well, he said he was talking about rate, not speed, when speed is rate. You dumbass sorry for the swearing. You dumb cracker.
Side edge of the hand. What you've done is you've convoluted the RPM with the rim velocity.
You mean conflated, but no, I understand.
Oh, really, shyster? Yeah, you're a deceiver.
Understand that they're different.
Now, you do understand that they're different. Oh, okay. Well, as I asked you when you came here, have you taken your video down where you convolute the two? If you appreciate that they're different and one isn't very slow, then what the hell is the subjection? You've just conceded exactly what you conceded here again. So you do understand there's a difference. Your audience doesn't. That makes you a deceiver. Outside edge of a clock hand, just because you can describe it with a very low RPM and say it's faster than the RPM of Earth, doesn't alter the fact that on the outside edge of Earth, you'd be traveling at 1,000 miles an hour.
Right. I'm not disputing that.
And is that very slow? Shyster? Is that slow? Specifically, quote, Matthew Learns, very slow, end quote. So you understand that 1,000 miles an hour described as very slow by you is you being a shyster deceiver then? Yeah, you've already conceded it. No wonder this is on your shitty channel, so nobody'll see. Yeah, well, at least 25,000 of my subscribers will get to see, where only 6,000 of your 500,000 get to see in this regard. Yeah, another shyster move there, Matthew.
And that is definitely not the speed that an ant would be travelling on the outside edge of a hand.
I agree, and I suppose I could have been more clear about that. That's true.
So, yeah, you could have been. You conceded it, Aaron. I got called a shyster for it.
True.
Yeah, true. So you are a shyster. You did deceive. You haven't taken that video down, and you've attempted to double down on it at the beginning of this video. We're 3.5 minutes in, and you're conceding it again. What a scumbag. Now, on your thumbnail, you posed the question about being fired. Yeah, this absolutely affirms what I already claimed. You should be sacked. You're a deceptive shyster. What are you doing educating people?
Just a con man.
Why are you wide eyes? You just conceded it.
Shyster? A liar?
Yeah, you understand. Yeah, not very slow.
Scumbag?
No,
Yes, scumbag. You can understand that's deceptive and could have been clearer. Yeah, all the things you conceded to me personally then. Yeah, and you got called a shyster, scumbag, deceitful fraud for it. Yeah, but you don't like that? Oh, well. Try not to be a deceitful shyster and you won't get called a deceitful shyster. It's that simple, man.
I am none of those things.
You are all of those things.
No, it's a little magic trick that you've just had with your audience, because you've just told them that an ant...
You see that wry smile on his face? That's Jupiter's delight. He knows damn well what I've just spat out is true.
The outside edge of a hand is going slower than 1,000 miles an hour, and 1,000...
She's nodding. Shyster. You agree then, do you, shyster? Deceptive? Not quite clear enough? Yeah, that was our objection when you got called a shyster, mate. You better damn sure not put this on your 500,000 subscribed channel. Yeah?
1,000 miles an hour is actually very slow.
No. The rotation RPM is very slow.
Oh, right. So you're using a different term to make it seem very slow then, shyster?
The speed.
That makes you stupid. Like, dumb.
No, again, I am neither stupid nor dumb.
No, you're a con artist shyster who shouldn't be teaching people.
An idiot. No, the outside edge of a clock hand.
Oh, so you know better? So you appreciate that this deceptive convolution between something that's very fast and described by you as very slow, you know better. So you're not stupid, you're just scummy. You're just deceptive. You know that it's not quite as clear as it could be. Yeah, you got called a shyster for it, mate. And I questioned your integrity and your employment as an educator as a result of it.
Isn't going faster than 1,000 miles an hour, and definitely isn't twice the rim velocity that we don't feel.
That's because we don't feel velocity. In my original video...
Don't feel velocity? What about acceleration on the outside edge of a sphere? We definitely feel that, Matthew. Is this you being a shyster again? Are we going to get X2 out of it? Another shyster move? Let's see.
I only spent 35 seconds talking about this, so I suppose I didn't explain it as carefully as I could have. And
yeah, you're getting called a shyster for it. That's right, my friend.
Nathan's right that the raw speeds aren't comparable at all.
So that makes you a shyster. And I'm absolutely justified in calling you out for your shyster deceptive actions and questioning your integrity and employment for it then. Because I'm right. You damn skippy. You wouldn't want to be telling 500,000 people that, though, would you? As you are not. Right, Matthew.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Rub it in.
Yeah, very quickly. I had a couple of the ballers recently. One of them is Guy Peasy. You might have come across him in your comments. He was trying to give me suggestions on how to represent the globe but make it sound better, which is exactly what Matthew Lawrence did. He messed with he used the maths, but he messed it with him in such a way to give people the impression that the rim velocity that will be felt by an ant on a wall clock will be equal to you being brought around in a circle at the edge of a 12,000 mile diameter disk at the same rate, the same angular rate. No, the difference in the velocity would be massive. But he used maths to try and fool people, to try and make his globe sound better. It was completely dishonest.
When I went on his show a few days later, I said this.
I will start by saying that I think you were right to point out the thing about the different rates of rotation versus speed. I think that I should have been more clear in my video. You were right to point out the thing about the different rates of rotation versus speed. I think that I should have been more clear in my video. You were right to point out the thing about the different rates of rotation versus speed.
And you got called a shyster, and a swindler, and a con artist, and you were requested to take that video down and make a correction. Not double down. Not claim how unstupid you are about your deception on a shitty little channel no one's watching when you've lied to 500,000 people. That's not what I asked for, but I was right. You're damn straight I was right. Go ahead, whoever that was.
He's not addressed the actual point, though, that the speed on the outside of that, is an acceleration speed, right? This constant expression will feel.
You're chopping up. You're chopping, John, real bad.
I think that I should have been more clear in my video to describe the difference, RPMs versus speed at the equator versus an ant on a clock and all that type of thing. If I were to redo it, I would try to expand that section to explain it a little bit better.
I see. When you expand upon it,
Only that one part?
would you consider giving us perhaps the measurement of the R value that the assertion for a sphere Earth rotating would be based on?
I'll answer his question about the R value in a bit. Also, saying that I could have explained it better is not a concession that I was wrong or that the Earth is flat. So let me explain.
No, the convolution between edge velocity and angular rate is deceptive. Not about whether or not it's flat. I mean, we got to that afterwards in my request for an R value to base the rotational rate on. But we're going to get to that in a minute. So what after your little subterfuge has been offered up for it not proving flatness when it's proving your deceptive nature with the maths, Matthew, labelling you a shyster being totally justified as a result, and now you doubling down on a shitty little channel so you can say you've addressed it? Yeah, you're a shyster, mate. There is no two ways about that.
Yes, sir. It wasn't cloudy what he said. It was crystal clear what you said, Matthew, pretender clown. You have a problem you don't understand, and it's typical baller, it's baller disease. You don't know the difference between angular velocity and tangential speed. It's plainly clear to everyone.
Explain all of this in more detail to be really clear.
I would say it different.
Why?
I would say no, he does know the difference, and he convoluted between the two to make his ball sound better in a deceptive way.
So we're getting back to whether he's a liar or just dumb as a box of rocks.
Either way, wrong. That doesn't matter. His motivation doesn't matter either. He's just wrong. And is trying to get around it and weasel. It's just that. It's weaselly.
Something is rotating.
If the term he's using, if I were to redo it, I would try to expand and make it a little better. He made it as good as he could when what he's trying to make out is that something that's going very fast, like 1,000 miles an hour, is actually slow. That's why the outrage, not because of a poor explanation, but what you tried to explain, you tried to pass off something fast as slow so that it could fit in your analogy and keep your ball together. It's called being deceptive. Yeah. The reason you chose angular rate of change was because you could use a very small looking number. to deceive people into thinking that small number didn't mean 1,000 miles an hour, which is why he didn't use 1,000 miles an hour, because it would have destroyed your analogy.
What's your education background, Adam? Don't normally ask. Sorry, say again.
Pharmacist, sorry.
But what was the courses that you had to take? Were they any of them maths related?
Well, there's maths, yeah. I mean, you would have basic maths, chemistry, physics, biology, and then
So you're a learned man in this regard, and you see it as deception mathematically.
There's no way in the world you can make that point, right, and try to pass something off as slow and use, like say, units that present small numbers. If you use those units and say, but that's actually that small angular change.
Let me just add something. Sorry to interrupt. It's justification for why we would not feel it, because look at this small number. That's the deception. You wouldn't feel it because it's a very small number. My objection: 1,000 miles an hour rim velocity when you're accelerating non-stop is going to be felt.
And that's not a bad explanation. That's a very good explanation to try and make somebody think that it's a non-consequential thing by using those particular units and refusing to use units that people would recognize. They're non-qualified units, you see, because how big's the roundabout that's spinning? It's only when you apply it to what he's claiming it is, which is a rotating Earth, that angular change has the implication of 1,000 miles an hour. And that's what he's trying to hide and deceive and pretend that 1,000 miles an hour is, in his language, not poor description, is slow. That's the opposite of fast, isn't it?
Yes. I thought we explained that really clearly to him personally when he came here and conceded that.
I mean, it's only about 300 miles an hour, more than the speed of sound. That's pretty slow, right? Oh, fuck.
Irrelevant numbers. The RPM measures the rate of rotation, how many times it rotates in a given amount of time.
Sorry, we're going to get to the R value after you've assumed that we have this R value that you were questioned on. So we'll get to it later because this description requires he assumes it. So I asked him, and he even put it in this video response to his shitty little audience that isn't 500,000 people he's deceived. Yeah, he's put it in. I asked for R. Why the hell are you talking about the RPM of an Earth that's spinning when you haven't got an R value to calculate it with? We'll get to that later. No, I'm damn sure we've debunked it. So no, we wouldn't be tolerating this if you were here, because you'll need the R value first, Matthew. But you'll get to that later. Why would it be that you'd highlight it and then suggest that you get it later? Surely, when we're talking about the rotational values of things, we're going to need R values for them, radial values. We're going to need that first, not after.
I know why.
Why's that?
Because wasn't that the day he came, when he came here, didn't he disclaim to us numerous times that it would not even make sense to try to measure R without assuming it first? Didn't he tell us that numerous times?
I see. So the disclaimer about the forced assumption of a sphere turning with a radial value we've debunked and he can't measure needs to come after, because it's less devastating if he gives it before the demonstration and claim that he's going to make with an assumed R value. It sounds bloody awful. So better do it after. Like, carefully considering which will be the most devastating order to reveal these things to a very limited audience. Shyster. Shyster. You don't like me calling you a shyster. You're going to open your eyes really wide and then get a bit of Jupiter's delight when you juxtapose the deception of really fast speeds being called really slow with not being a flat Earth proven. Shyster.
RPM, rotations per minute. You can also determine the speed and acceleration of something on the outside edge of that rotating object.
If you assume it's a rotating object with a radius value that you can't measure, what, with all of these assumed things in place first, you mean? You haven't declared that, though, have you? We pointed it out to you to the point where you've put it in your video that I requested an R value first. Yeah? Shyster. Obviously, you were aware of this or you wouldn't have put it in. Disclaimed by me.
What he's done here, Nathan, it's not like this is the first time this has come up. We've debunked this about 7 years ago, and then periodically through those years by numerous crayon crunching globers. What he's done here is he's taken this claim at face value and mindlessly parroted it. That's all he's done here. Well, what are you doing, man?
I'm wondering if he put the part in this current video where he told us that it would even make sense to measure a radius without assuming it first. I wonder if he put that in this video. That would be interesting.
Those two numbers depend on the radius from the center. Now, the Earth rotates at about 0.0006963 RPM.
Your assumption. This is a begging the question fallacy straight off the bat, Matthew.
And relative to the center axis of Earth.
That you're assuming. This is a fallacious argument, Matthew, straight off the bat.
Something on the equator is moving at 1,040 miles per hour or 1,674 kilometers per hour.
What's the equator? Anybody? I'm going to ask Brian. Brian, what's the equator?
It's the midpoint of the sun's path throughout the year.
Based on its ground position, its zenith ground position.
Who muttered that? Can you repeat that, please? I don't know who that was, but yes, please. I'll have that again.
Based on its zenith ground position.
What's that mean?
The transit in relation to where we experience the GP of the sun on the surface.
What does all that mean? I don't understand, Adam. You're gonna have to break this down for me. What this is what the equator is, right?
Well, it's an imaginary circle. Circle being the key word, but
I'm a bit confused. See, this chap here has just described it as the outside edge of a ball, but you're saying you didn't give me that as the description. You said Brian said it's the midpoint for the seasons, and you said it's the GP position, or it's zenith position, depending on how you want to describe it.
It's a position that's measured. Sorry, Adam, you go ahead.
Oh, no, Brian. I like the sound of that. Measured, you say? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's measured
how
by
exactly?
Flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. It's the point at which Polaris disappears at your horizon due to perspective. 5,400 nautical miles from the GP point of Polaris.
Sometimes.
Okay. So that's a measurement that we can take in this regard. We've got a second, which is the midpoint of the sun in its GP position. Correct, Adam?
Yeah.
So these are all descriptions that come from a flat plane, though, are they not?
Descriptions and measurements from a flat plane. The way we quantify it is a measurement from a flat plane.
So the quantification, description, and measurement of the equator relates directly to a flat Earth, then?
Yes.
It can't be measured without it.
You see, the problem is that when we've got all flat Earth measurements for this concept of an imaginary line called the equator, derived from celestial movements and elevation angle measurements off flat planes, and he infers through an assumption that begs the question that it's the outside edge of a sphere, that he's got a rim velocity he's not going to declare and only give an angular velocity or an angular rate. And then you see the problem. That's why I asked you for the R value. The equator, the concept that you're now describing, has only got flat Earth measurements attached to it. But you're assuming it's the outside edge of a ball there, Matthew. That's a big problem. Yeah? It's undoubtedly a problem that you would have had highlighted to you personally when you were here. I mean, no doubt.
And that circular motion requires an
What circular motion? The one that you've assumed? So we're measuring velocities of assumed velocities. This is absolutely and utterly fallacious, Matthew. Are you an imbecile? Are you going to trim out me asking if you're an imbecile after you've employed fallacious logic? Are you an imbecile? Are you stupid to employ this fallacious reasoning? Your smug grin and shake of the head won't get around the fact that this is a fallacy you're employing. And the fact is the fallacy's been pointed out by my words in the clip you used. So why are you assuming that we're turning, Matthew? You're going to need an R value for that.
Acceleration of 0.033916 meters per second squared. So those are the three numbers for Earth. Let's compare that to a clock. The hour hand of an analog clock rotates.
Why? I can see a clock moving. And
he's heading right back to his vomit.
Yeah, right back to his vomit, right back to the same doubling down. Check out these differences. The speed difference is absolutely colossal. 0.00004958 miles per hour versus 1,040. Do you see the disparity here?
Rotates at a rate of 0.0013889 RPM, almost twice Earth's rotational rate. Not the speed, the rotational rate. An ant standing on the end.
So did you think by reiterating our very objection that somehow forgives you of your sins? No. You know, using our argument in your demonstration, like suddenly that makes it all okay. Yet highlighting the very small number versus the very big number. The one that we'd notice when you're saying it's, quote, very slow. Do you see how speed, things we qualify with fast and slow, at 1,040 miles per hour, considerably faster than the speed of sound, being described as very slow is unreasonable. You understand that now?
No. What he's doing, remember I caught him before when he said there's a difference between rate and speed? You see what he just did? He just used that before when he said it to grease his skids for his rotational rate. Did you hear him say rotational rate?
Yes.
That's rotational speed, you crayon crunching clown.
QA, have you seen? I've just counted that. Right. Well, why has he put? This is weird. So why would you now put acceleration in and demonstrate what the point you're trying to make, which would be the force you might feel that you can't feel, which is why he's trying to use a clock. Look at the difference in the accelerations for the clock and the Earth. It's 7 orders of magnitude more on the Earth, he's claiming, compared to his analogy that he's given us to show how little the force is. The acceleration is 7 orders of magnitude more in reality to the example he's given. So what example is that then? Because nothing matches.
Right.
You'll have to forgive him then, because all he's trying to do is find the right combination of words that make his argument sound right.
Yeah, but the numbers he's given, Chocolate, demonstrate again the exact opposite of the point he's trying to make.
Yep.
Mathematician for you.
979 kilometers per hour. And that circular motion requires a tiny acceleration of just 0.000000003224 meters per second. Okay, so why did I make this analogy? It's because for both the ant and the person on the equator, both the RPM and the acceleration are very slow. The hour hand rotates at an RPM rate almost twice as large as the RPM rate of the
PM rate.
Oh my God. How is the acceleration rate slow?
Right.
For start, it's a constant.
Is
it not?
Well, no, this is back. What? This is a 5. When QE was trolling flat earthers in Discord, you used to ask them a question, didn't you? In terms of the size of a number. And this is what he's just tried to claim. You see, because those numbers, lot, are really what appear to be really, really small. They're both just really, really small. They're not. They're orders of magnitude of 7 difference. They're not comparable numbers. It's like trying to compare 7 and 7 million. That's the difference.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
the Earth. As for the acceleration, yes, the acceleration of the Earth at the equator is 10.
Getting a bit stuttery there, Matthew. Is it because this is the point that's just been iterated by us on the panel? Yeah, very telling little stutter there.
Million times larger, but even at 0.034 meters per second squared, it's still a low number. It's these.
Oh, you see?
But we would.
Yeah. He just said it's 10 million times larger, 7 orders of magnitude, but it's still small.
So deceptive shyster much? So you still want to claim that it's a small number, and that linear speed won't be felt, but acceleration will, even though this acceleration at 1,040 miles per hour, very different to a clock, is orders of magnitude higher in terms of the accelerative force that you'd feel. And this is all to justify how we wouldn't feel it, eh, Matthew, you shyster? Yeah, you're going to be called Matthew the Shyster from now on, because that's what you are, you little weasel.
These small numbers that matter, not the raw speed, because...
Oh, really? It's only the small numbers that highlight how we won't feel it that matter when we're pointing out the opposite, and you've conceded that. So now, doubling down on this shitty little channel, it's only the small numbers that make you think it doesn't get felt that matter. That's exactly our objection, you shyster.
Human beings cannot directly sense raw speed. We can sense...
Well, but with the acceleration that's orders of magnitude higher, we can.
Rotation and acceleration, but not speed.
But you've just pointed out that the acceleration is orders of magnitude higher. So does this work for you saying how we wouldn't feel it anymore, you shyster deceiver? Absolutely not. And that's our point, isn't it, Matthew? Why wouldn't you put this on your 500,000 subscriber channel? Why would you give this out to such a limited audience? Is it so you can say you've responded? Oh, I set the record straight in that regard, young student, that you shouldn't be educating. I stand by what I say. Deceptive shits like you shouldn't be teaching people.
I know it seems like we can sense speed. After all, we all know the difference.
Speed or acceleration? Is it back to your deceptive shyster nature of convoluting the orders of magnitude higher acceleration back into just speed? It's because you're a liar, Matthew. Yeah, I think we should all petition to get this lying shyster fired. Why are you educating people you clearly are overtly going out of your way to deceive and hide the deception? Yeah? What, and then claim the kudos that you've responded? Shout out to DJ One Deck. Just gives me money. Thank you very much. He's even on the panel. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, One Deck.
Between riding in a car going 20 versus going 60.
What about the accelerative force between the two? Just going to ignore those, are you, deceitful shyster? I think so.
But we're not directly sensing the speed. It's the...
So it's back to just talking about speed. You've had it up on the chart with the difference of the acceleration, and now it's just the speed you're talking about. Here it is. Acceleration.
Low number.
There it is.
It's these small numbers that matter, not the raw speed, because human beings cannot directly sense raw speed.
Sorry, 1 second, Nathan. A fighter jet that's flying at Mach 2, let's just say, right? The most people couldn't sit in that fighter jet without going unconscious. People who fly those jets, they must train for years to get to that point because of what they call the G-force. Now, a fighter jet flying at Mach 2 and holding that speed as a constant for 5 minutes, that G-force is still going to be there for 5 minutes. When the fighter jet is not flying at Mach 2, when it's flying at Mach 1 or 0.5, Mach 0.5 or whatever, the G-force won't be the same. So what's he talking about? And that's in a straight line. That's not even an angular. So what he's saying is complete lies. Total lies.
He's also assuming that he's in a closed system and you can't sense speed. I don't know. Number one, the Earth's not a closed system. So let's put us on the Earth, right? Well, take the speed, drive down the road in a convertible with your windows down and tell me if you don't sense speed, you crayon crunching clown.
No, his Earth is not a closed system. The real Earth is. Just want to point that out.
Yes.
We can sense rotation and acceleration, but not.
We can sense rotation. So our objection, pointing out that when you describe it as a small number that we will not sense, now you're disclaiming on your tiny channel that needs to be hidden from anybody watching that we can sense those things then. So we'd sense it then. Let's just do that
He
again.
just shot himself in the face.
Let's just have it up with all the convoluted accelerative speeds that he's now ignoring because the speed number's what you've got to focus on to make sure you understand that you wouldn't feel it, only to then disclaim that you'd feel it.
Low number. It's these small numbers that matter, not the raw speed, because human beings cannot directly sense raw speed. We can sense rotation and acceleration, but not speed.
So if we had rotation and acceleration, we'd sense it then.
Is rotation a straight line speed? No. Well, what is he on about? He is just double speaking, and in his double speak, admitting he's lying. It's
So
galling.
I speculate that he's not stupid. He had a little wry, smug smile when he shaked his head and told us how non-stupid he was. I sense he should be fired. The guy's doubled down on his lies. He's clearly not stupid. He knows he's being deceitful in describing things that we would feel as not being felt because of this small number, only to literally disclaim that those are the very things we'd sense. So you should be sacked. Yeah, I wasn't going to overtly overdo this, but now you've challenged that fact, something I wasn't going to labour, and challenged it based on you doubling down on this same deceitful garbage. Yeah, I absolutely question your integrity and challenge you as a teacher. You shouldn't be in front of people who want to learn, because you're going out of your way to deceive people. And then when you get caught, you hide it somewhere that's subtle, where only a few people have watched it. Under 100 people have watched this. What about your 500,000 subscribers? Why aren't they getting privilege to this doubling down deceitful nonsense, where you disclaim that the very thing you're telling them they wouldn't feel because of a small number would specifically be felt? He should be sacked. I wouldn't want him in front of my kids. What an outrage.
Doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it make sense that you can sense the rotation that you can't sense? That makes sense.
What we should focus on here is the speed and the low number. When we could sense rotation, the very thing I'm justifying us not feeling. What a scumbag. Yeah, you're right. My vitriol and total venom directed at you was absolutely justified, Matthew. Yeah, and this was the stupidest thing you could have done. Disappearing and not responding at all would have been a better idea. Putting it onto a very small channel when you've got plenty of people to show how right you were and how wrong I was, when you overtly concede how right I was, and then declare why you were wrong by your own admission in terms of what we would sense. The very thing you said we wouldn't, because of this small number we should focus on, and you've doubled down and done it again. Shout out to Rob Khan for smashing the super chat. Says good morning. Thank you for the super chat.
I brought out a video recently, and I didn't label it this, but the main point of the video was attacking Charles Globert math, because he was at the same stuff, where he's openly lying from a mathematical point of view on several issues. So they're all at it. These teachers, these geometry and maths teachers, they're all at it. They're all doing the same thing. They're all lying.
Yeah. Charlie's a teacher that's a scumbag liar and should be sacked, and so is Matthew. They're just scumbags. And they go out of their way to give you a wry smile and a little nod of their head, and then go out of their way, as he's just done, to point out that we would sense the very thing we objected to.
I know it seems like we can sense speed. After all, we all know the difference.
So back to, it seems we can sense speed when you've just pointed out overtly that we would sense rotation. So now it's back to speed again. Yeah, that makes you a shyster. It makes you a liar. It's the reason I'm going to overtly say you should be sacked. You just said we'd sense rotation, and you're claiming rotation that we wouldn't sense because we focus on the small numbers, don't we, Matthew? Shyster.
Difference between riding in a car going 20 versus going 60.
Or the acceleration in between the two that you're ignoring. Now you've pointed out that we'd sense rotation.
But we're not directly sensing the speed. It's the
back to speed again, shyster deceiver.
Sound, the vibration, and our eyes that tell us how fast we're going.
What about the rotation that we'd sense if we were rotating, that you just disclaimed we'd sense? If we were rotating, we'd sense it. You just said it. But we wouldn't sense speed, and that's the number that doesn't matter. Right? So therefore, let's focus on the small numbers because we wouldn't sense Earth's rotation. Right, Matthew? Even though we would sense rotation because you've specifically disclaimed that. Sack him. Just sack him. Just remove him from his job. Why would you put someone who overtly deceives people in front of people who want to be educated? It's an outrage.
That's why I showed this video of a coin on a Japanese bullet train. If the train ride is smooth enough to not knock over the coin, we also won't feel the acceleration. Here's another example. Imagine waking up on a commercial jet airplane in the middle of the night where you can't see out the windows. You hear the engines running, but you can't see how fast you're going. And since you cannot directly sense speed, you don't know whether the plane is going 600 or 200 or taxiing on the ground or even stopped at the end of the runway.
Now imagine accelerating from 0 to 300 miles an hour. Now imagine being on something that's moving 1,000 miles an hour, constantly accelerating. Meanwhile, as QE's already pointed out, you're talking about closed systems. So are you suggesting that there's a great big massive aluminium dome around the Earth, Matthew? To make your example comparative? Is that what you're saying? There's a great big aluminium dome around Earth? Like a plane? To keep it a closed system? Or a great big aluminium shell like on the bullet train? So is that what you're suggesting, Matthew? We've got a great big aluminium shell around a sphere Earth? Because if not, this fails miserably, doesn't it? Because you've got an open system in a sky vacuum violating natural law to compare it to. Is this rotating, by the way? Was the bullet train rotating about an axis with an R value you're not justifying? Is this plane rotating about its axis? Or are these false comparisons made by a shyster? I think they're deceitful because they're not rotating, which is what you're comparing this to.
One of their favorite tactics, making a false equivalence, especially with the open system and closed system nonsense when it comes to their speed and rotation.
Yeah, but how come people ain't picking up on this? Come on.
Oh, he wouldn't want anyone picking up on this, or he'd put it out to 500,000 subscribers as a slam dunk response to a flat earther. On the contrary, he's conceded everything we've pointed out as making him a deceitful shyster.
That's because human beings do not sense speed.
What about acceleration about an axis?
Okay, so that was a big, long explanation.
No, it wasn't. It was a big, long gaggle screw of you being a shyster.
Let's listen to a bit more.
No, just a scummy, fraudulent liar. That's what you are, Matthew. Yeah?
Why are you nodding your head? You just told us that we would sense rotation. Why are you nodding your head? You've gone on and on and on about how we wouldn't detect speed. And then subtly at the end said, oh, but on the bullet train, which is not rotating about an axis, or on an aeroplane, which is not rotating about an axis, if we ignore all effects of the acceleration and just assume that it is a constant speed, then you wouldn't really sense it. Oh, right. What about the specifically defined by you as being detectable rotation that isn't comparable to a plane or a train that's a closed system? Why are you nodding your head? You've told us we detect rotation.
By the way, make sure you go to Matthew's channel, like I would expect in return when he covers this video, if he covers it, or if anybody who we cover covers us in return.
Yeah, I'd expect it, but he didn't put it on the channel that we were objecting to. So this won't be reaching the 500,000 people he's lied to and deceived, will it? I'm literally giving it more coverage than he's going to give.
Response. I'd hope that he would share my link, and with the same
What, on this shit channel, Matthew? Is this where you're going to share it? What, while you point out that we would detect rotation? And how right I am? Yeah, why is it on this channel, Matthew? Yeah, it's because you fear us, and you fear the repercussions of your deceitful nature. So you want to keep it hidden. That's what you do, Matthew. That's what shysters do. So you think you're going to, what, praise the fact that you've shared my link on some channel that nobody's watching? Oh, I'm sure the 96 people that have watched this response is comparable to the 500,000 people you've deceived on your other channel that we were objecting to. Oh yeah, praise be.
Encouragement that I've given my audience. Let Matthew know. Tell him, Nathan Oakley.
Why are you smiling? You told us we'd detect rotation.
1980 and
Gone.
Just add a little
Actions speak louder than
on screen. Because this is a, he's trying to descend it into qualitative and quantitative. It doesn't really matter if it's there. We've got a 7 orders of magnitude bigger than what he's trying to demonstrate on the clock, but it's there. It exists. So I was just being a bit geeky. I don't most learned on accelerometers, but I've just gone to Chat GPT to see how accurate an accelerometer is, how small it could pick up. And this, where are we? The second to bottom paragraph. Modern accelerometers can have noise floor ranging from fractions of a microgram. This corresponds to very low acceleration values on the order of 10 to the minus 8 meters per second. That means that these accelerometers would be able to detect, you could put them on the edge of the clock and it would detect that. So his supposed rotation of the Earth should be picked up by these accelerometers. It's not, otherwise he'd be citing it as evidence. So I just want to throw that at him. But the point is, there's a quality here. Either it is or it isn't. You may try and say it's so small, Matthew, that you can't detect it. But I would suggest that it is detectable by the claims of this technology. So
the clock, that hand on the clock that is 7 orders of magnitude less than the forces we would detect on a spinning Earth. So it would be very much measurable if it were true. But that's not what Matthew's arguing. Somebody who should be a man of measurement, a mathematician, you would assume would go to the measurements that he could claim and show his claim to be true. But that's not his claim, is it? His claim is that you won't detect it. Now, we as flat earthers have pointed out that the minuscule quantitative value that he's saying we wouldn't detect as people should have citable, measurable, accurate data that would get the accelerative value of a clock hand at 7 magnitudes less. So, based on that, Matthew, I'm going to call you a deceptive shyster again. Because you're saying this is the justification for why we wouldn't detect it. All right. Why wouldn't you be arguing for how you can detect the thing you are claiming, as opposed to apologising for why you can't, and justifying with deceitful numbers that are very small why you can't, rather than showing how you can prove it's true? So you're just apologising for why you can't prove it. Why is rumpusing me?
That was me.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I mean, you were pointing out what
Shout
I was
out to
going
James
to
Richards.
say, like,
just for your
okay.
viewers, calling him stupid is not an ad hominem. He's literally displaying it. See, I can do it too, but I'll do it with a super chat. Thanks, James Richards.
It's so good. No, I mean, you kind of say what I was going to point out, that especially to anybody that's new and listening to this, right? They have a very simple claim. They want a ball. The ball is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. Very simple. Look at what he's doing in order to show you how this claim cannot be felt or measured by anyone. Look at what he's doing. Look at the convolution he's going through, the words he's trying to put together, instead of just proving his claim to tell you how you would never prove his claim. And it's what they do with every claim they have. Everything comes with, you know, you can't see it's curved, but you can't see it because reasons. It's always reasons. It's never a substantiated claim. I'm done.
Exactly. This is a justification for why you would not feel his claim that we are spinning. All right. So you claim we are spinning, but apologies, you're not going to detect it. And look at this small number. That's the most important thing. Looking at the small number and knowing why you wouldn't feel it. Okay, well, great defense of your claim that we're spinning. We'll get back to the R value that you need for the measurements that you're going to assert. Give you small values that we wouldn't detect. Okay, yeah, this all seems perfectly above board, you perfect shyster. Crew responded to your wonderful video. Yeah, the one where you're a shyster, fraudster, scammer, liar with your numbers about angular velocity versus rim velocity. I mean, that just seems like a scummy, underhanded, scammy tactic. You know, from your typical bull-believing wanker who will lie to your face. Like this man, the liar known as Matthew Weathers. That's you, my friend. Did you just take a bow on that note? Wow. And you wrinkly old scumbag.
Okay, well, I will share his links. They're below in the description.
In his crappy video that only 91 people have watched, when he's got 500,000 people, that he could be putting this slam dunk down about how you won't detect Earth spinning. Remember, it's small numbers you need to focus on. That's why you won't detect it, and you wouldn't expect to. Have any proof for my claim that I've begged the question of? All right, well, thanks for putting it out to the 500,000 people you deceived in the first place, you deceitful shyster.
In case you want to hear more of the same, you can find many, many hours of similar rhetoric there. Let's go back to his question from before. Where does the R value come from? Now, when flat earthers ask that question, they're asking
straight into a stereotyping fallacy immediately. Again, why would somebody who is learned use fallacious reasoning by going straight to a stereotyping fallacy and talking about all flat earthers? I'm not describing all ballers as shyster lying scum, just you, specifically, Matthew. Yeah? Not all ballers are lying shysters like this man. No. That would be a stereotyping fallacy to describe all ballers as deceitful, worthy of being sacked teachers, because they're not, are they? Some of them aren't teachers.
Before you go on,
Yeah.
sorry,
Good, Chocolate. Good.
no, I was just gonna say before you go on real quick, since he's getting down to the R value right now, where it came from, I'm really hoping, if he's an intellectually honest person, that he's gonna put in his video that yes, we have to assume the R value before we can even think about measuring it, because he told us that numerous times. I want to see how honest he's going to be right now.
radius, the R value of the
I've got a funny feeling we're not going to get where it's going to come from. He's just going to describe what the R value is and then move on.
Earth. Flat earthers say that neither the radius nor the curvature of Earth has ever been measured.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect to be able to see it.
He said that too.
Sorry, that's a fact. You have atmospheric refraction that's standard on a globe model with an Earth curve that's below surface level. You can't see things that are below surface level when you calculate them into existence in an orthographic view by way of a differential calculation from a flat plane used to measure height, for instance, of a mountain for Al-Biruni, to then get the eye level up the mountain and the differential between the two. Yeah, that puts a geometric horizon, that's Earth curve, below surface level, Matthew. I mean, I'm no mathematician, but I understand the deceit of the Earth curve calculations. But they need an R value to start with. Right? The extrapolation they're off from Biruni is bunk, because he used a flat plane to get it.
And that's not a
They're
measurement. Right. That's a calculator. On his screen, he's got the way you could measure the R value. Measure the R. What is the R? The R is that radius. So that's what you got to measure. Not go up a mountain and measure a circumference and then calculate an R value. I know I'm being semantical, but
it's very important.
Did he say you're right?
No, that's important. We're asking for a measurement, an extrapolation, a derivation. No, we don't want any of those things. Calculations won't do.
Did I hear him say they're right? Sorry, Nathan.
Maybe not. Let's have a listen again.
Hours of similar rhetoric there. Well, let's go back to his question from before. Where does the R value come from? Now, when flat earthers ask that question, they're asking about the radius, the R value of...
Did I not ask where it was measured?
That's what I said.
I'm just going to have a quick... Can someone remember 938?
Not
sorry, just
how it's measured.
Let's just see what I actually asked him, because he put it up on screen. I'll just see if I can... 938, if you can remember that timestamp. See if I can spin through and find it, so I can specifically know what I asked for, because I can't remember off the top of my head. Where was it? Talk amongst yourselves. We are live.
I just don't like that he said flat earthers. Why don't he just say when anybody asks me for the radius and go on from there?
Because he's setting up the reason why the question is being asked by flat earthers. That's why.
938.
He's a deceptive liar. I don't care what you want to call him. That's what I'm calling him.
There it is on screen now. I did not ask him where it came from. Would you consider giving us perhaps the measurement of the R value? That's very specific, I would say. Could it be that we're dealing with a deceptive shyster that takes words he has edited into his own video that specifically say the word, quote, measurement, that actually means I'd like to know where it came from? No, I didn't ask for its bloody origin. I asked for where it was measured. I mean, as a man of maths, you'd think you'd understand bloody English. But you're a shyster. You're deceitful. You'll take words that mean something like measurement to mean origin. Where it came from. No, where it's measured, Dumbo. Yeah, but that's why I am suggesting you be sacked. When someone asks you for a measurement or something, you take that to mean that they want its origin. No, it's measurement, mate. It's on screen. There it is. You even printed it. This is your video. So did you think that mean I didn't want the measurement? That I wanted a little origin story, did you? Oh, well, very much not the case. I wanted the measurement, my friend. Will we get it? Will this deceptive shyster give us what I've asked him for? He can't. We've debunked it. They can't get it. What was it? What was the timestamp?
9:38.
Thank you.
The radius, the R value of the Earth. Flat earthers say that neither the radius nor the curvature of Earth has ever been measured. They're right. Neither of those have been directly measured. In other words,
He did say it.
I knew I heard it.
Oh, right. So without a measurement for your assumed values of turn and rate and speed and velocities and non-accelerative rotational values that we would detect, but you need to focus on the small number, you haven't measured it. So every number he gave you in that last little bit of bullshit came from nothing. Didn't come from any measurements. It can't be measured. So my objection stands true then. So when I say, would you give us the measurement, and you say, we'll come back to it later, the answer is no.
In other words, you can't slap a ruler on Earth's radius or put a huge straight edge on the curvature of the Earth.
I haven't got any curvature of Earth to put a straight edge on. When you're measuring things with straight edges, you're measuring horizons to establish horizontals to do navigation with. You're not putting straight edges on curves.
Instead, Earth's radius and curvature have been indirectly calculated based on...
All right, well, I didn't ask for that, did I? I didn't ask for a calculation and an extrapolation. I asked for a measurement, but you can't get one. Right. Well, that puts all of your numbers, makes them all void. It's the end of that.
Other measurements.
So you can extrapolate how much we wouldn't feel of a number based on a value that you can't measure. But ultimately speaking, it would have a measurable value. We pointed that out with the accelerometer being able to see the acceleration value of a clock hand that's orders of magnitude less than a spinning Earth. And you've even disclaimed in this very video that we detect rotation. But ultimately, the video is all about how you've got to focus on the small numbers because you wouldn't detect it. And where have we got the idea that we would be able to not feel it when we could measure it, but we wouldn't detect it and we wouldn't expect to? Well, from an extrapolation of a measurement that can't be taken. Oh, well, it all seems perfectly sound if you're a shyster.
But so what? The same is true.
So what? Well, so what? You haven't got any validity to your claim then, mate. That's what so what. And your little hand wave's going to work when I'm responding to your video going out to, not what, 500,000 people? No, going out to about 97 viewers.
The height of Mount Everest. It's technically never been directly measured.
So how did Al-Biruni derive the R value from a flat plane using it then? Not Everest, but a mountain.
Instead, it's been calculated using surveying techniques with measured angles.
So you'll need a flat plane for those.
Oh.
So Matthew has now proving a flat Earth by pointing out that you can take indirect measurements of things when you've got a flat baseline. That's a flat Earth to measure them with reference to sea level.
No,
so you've just proven a flat Earth.
Hold on, Nathan. No.
Contradicted himself.
Hey, yes. Go ahead, Adam.
We've not measured Mount Everest. We calculate it from measuring an elevation angle.
Yeah.
Sorry. What?
You'll need a flat Earth for that.
He did this the last time. He did the same thing the last time, remember?
Yes.
But just for people's benefit who may be listening to this, I know a few people do listen to this as opposed to watch. This video is called Vlog 25, Liar, in quotes, question mark, Deceiver, in quotes, question mark, responding to Nathan Oakley. Just to answer your questions. Yes and yes.
And more recently by timing GPS signals.
GPS uses Cartesian grids. You went through this with us also, didn't you, Matthew? One of the videos I trimmed out was specific in regards to the flat Earth system that's used for GPS. You also conceded that, Matthew. Is that why this has been dropped into this video reaching nobody?
But no one has ever directly measured the height of Mount Everest by putting a ruler on its side to see its altitude.
But the indirect measurements used a flat baseline and a flat Earth to do so. Yeah, we know. So did the indirect measurements of radius by Al-Biruni. They also used an elevation angle measurement to derive an R value that's indirect, but taken from a flat Earth. So kudos for proving a flat Earth.
But using indirect calculations, that doesn't bother me. I think that's
no such thing. No such thing as indirect measurements. He made that up. No such thing. Citation, please.
reasonable. Similarly, we cannot directly measure Earth's radius, but we can calculate it. Eratosthenes in ancient Greek is said to have been the first to calculate the size of the Earth with sticks and shadows, as told by Carl Sagan in the original Cosmos series.
Someone wants a piece of that.
Not really. Too boring.
Well, no, for the audience's benefit, please do.
I'm happy that I was about to ask when he said no, we've not directly measured it. I'm glad he's now going to go into how he's going to claim he's, and his vernacular, not mine, he's indirectly measured it, because it's what he's going to claim the horizon is to indirectly measure is the thing that's going to destroy his own argument. Uncle Bobby, Black Swan. He's about to destroy himself by now describing his indirect measurement of R.
It is true that this observation is also consistent with the flat Earth and close local sun, but Eratosthenes assumed that the Earth is spherical and that the sun is very far away in order.
So even your extrapolation has got the declaration that it doesn't lend itself to your begging the question of an R value on a spherical Earth then. So I'm going to extrapolate something that does not directly link to being an extrapolative value for R to only being connected to an extrapolative value for R after hijacking flat Earth measurements. That's what he's just done.
Yes. He just pulled the Neil deGrasse. Basically saying, yeah, this could also be done in a flat Earth. Well, if it could be done on a flat Earth, that means it doesn't prove it's a globe. Idiot.
To do his calculation. So to be clear, there are two questions here. Question one.
Where'd you get the measurement of R? You don't. That was the question I asked. It's all that's relevant when you've begged the question continually about radius values that can't be measured, and the only measurement you've cited. It also could infer a flat Earth, but I'm going to take it as read that my assumption of a sphere Earth, the very objection of the begging the question fallacy we objected to initially, is perfectly sound. Because no measurements. My very objection.
Is the Earth a globe? And then
No. Have you got a measurement to prove it? Not is it? Not are you going to beg the question? We know damn well you will. Yeah, because you're a fundamentalist zealot. So you automatically assume the answer to this question. We know. And you've told us how you do it. With measurements that, well, it could be a flat Earth, but I'm going to take them to be spherical.
Then question two, if it is a globe.
If it's a globe, you've already asked that in question one. So what, assuming that it is?
What's its radius?
No, we would need to take measurements, and we wouldn't assume it in the first instance when the only thing you've cited doesn't directly prove that you've got a radial value measurable. So this is just begging the question on steroids.
Flat Earthers complain that this is a
begging the question fallacy on steroids. Let's see if his stereotyping fallacy is correct.
A begging the question fallacy.
Boom.
And it would indeed be circular reasoning.
So that's begging the question then. So far, 3 for 3, Nathan's been right 3 times. Yeah, no wonder you're burying this on your crap channel.
If you were trying to prove the Earth is a globe by finding the radius, like this. Assume the Earth is a globe, we can calculate a radius, therefore this proves Earth is a globe. No.
No, absolutely not. But yet you've just taken the last 11 minutes to do exactly that then. So, what, you're going to point out your fallacious reasoning like it's an argument in your defence? Yeah, we get numpties doing that here live, Matthew, where they literally think throwing back our argument at us is somehow going to be a defence for them. So I point out that you're using fallacious reasoning, that's a circular argument, begging the question. And you just point out the begging the question and say no at the end of it. Yeah, that's right. No, you wouldn't be using this fallacious logic, but you have. That's exactly what you did. But getting to it after you've used it.
That's a logical fallacy.
Correct.
However, that's...
No. There is no however once you employ fallacious reasoning. Yeah, this is what a shyster does. I know it's a fallacy, but... Is that how it works? Yeah, it's fallacious reasoning, but a fallacy's better than nothing. Right, Matthew? But there's no but after you point out it's a fallacy. That's the end. It makes your argument void. I mean, do you not understand how fallacious reasoning works? At the point it's highlighted to be fallacious, there's no but.
It's not what Eratosthenes was doing.
He was assuming Earth's a sphere. But that's not what he was doing, even though there's two outcomes. One of them assumes a sphere, and that's what I'm going to use, and that's what he did. But that's not what he was doing. Shyster.
But you know what that's good for? It's good to show that he's absolutely willing to do that, to commit a fallacy, call out his own fallacy, and then keep going.
He wasn't trying to prove that the Earth is a globe. He was
just measuring the radius of a globe Earth.
Just calculating its size, its
that he assumed was spherical. Let's just ignore the fact that he's assumed it's spherical to measure its sphericity and say he's not assuming it, he's just calculating it. That makes it all good. It's not a fallacy anymore if I word it like this. You should be sacked. You are going out of your way to defend the fallacious reasoning you've just literally laid down the explanation of. So if I assume it's a globe and then I calculate it as a globe, that makes it a globe. No, but he wasn't doing that. He just calculated it as a globe. So if I don't say the first bit, it's not begging the question. What a shyster. Should be sacked. This is what you'll do when you're not educating the kiddies. You'll be going out of your way to deceive them with fallacious reasoning. But then what will you do if that's pointed out by one of the kiddies? You'll point out how it's a fallacy, labour the point of the fallacy, and then just lob off the first assumption and have the conclusion of the assumption stated as though it's not a fallacy. My God. Samuel, Sensual Goat just gifted out a load of memberships. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate all the support. Check them out. They're all immediately vanished. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the support.
Radius. So it's not a fallacy.
It is absolutely a fallacy, Matthew. You just explained how it was a fallacy, literally only 30 seconds earlier. And because of that, after your declaration that it's not a fallacy, I'll give you explaining how it is.
By finding the radius, like this. Assume the Earth is a globe. We can calculate a radius. Therefore, this proves Earth is a globe. No.
So there's Matthew explaining why it was a fallacy. Do you see why I call him a deceitful shyster and say he should be sacked?
That's a logical fallacy. How?
Correct, Matthew. The one you're employing but then later explaining that it isn't? 30 seconds later.
I think there is a radius. If the Earth is a globe, then we can calculate the radius. That's not a fallacy.
Is that not the exact same thing you just said was a second ago, Matthew? Do you see how easy it is for me to just rewind and fast forward to you saying the exact same thing is a fallacy and then repeating it and saying it isn't? Yeah, you should be sacked. Should be sacked.
This is
fired. Sacked. Removed from your job. No longer tolerated as an educator. Am I labouring this point enough for you, Matthew? Did you think that this defence on your shitty channel no one was watching was going to get around the fact that I'd said you should be fired for what you've done and what you are doing and what you are perpetuating here and how you're lying about what is a fallacy and then declaring the same thing as not being a fallacy? Yeah? Sack him. It's just that simple.
But that's
this
the
is the
so-called
2023 version of we do have a geometric horizon. We don't have a geometric horizon.
flaw in logic that Nathan is talking about in this next clip.
No, you were talking about it. I rewound your own words and got you to say it, Matthew. So while you put my words in air quotes, no, they were your words on this occasion. You described the fallacy to us and then said, no, that would be a fallacy. Straight after you used the exact same words to say it wasn't. I will berate you for your use of logical fallacy. I'll do it now. You should be sacked. People should be contacting this man's employer and telling them to sack him because of what a deceitful shyster he is. So yeah, I will berate you, Matthew, while you've got that just been slapped around the face look on your face. Yeah, I'll do it now.
To lie to children when you...
That's right, you lie to children.
Educate them about the sphere belief that you have based on flaws in logic.
Yeah, you just detailed them, Matthew. You just went through the circular reasoning that you've employed. Why are you nodding no?
Now, I don't see it as reasonable to lie to children about your assumption.
You do, shrug of the shoulders. Perfectly reasonable, according to Matthew. The fact that I don't see it as reasonable gets a shoulder shrug from this scumbag. What a bloody outrage.
Based on flaws in logic. Yeah, that's not reasonable. Do you understand my disdain for you and my justification for calling you scum when you justified lying to children based on a flaw in logic?
Yes, I understand your disdain if that's what you think I'm doing.
No, it is what you're doing. You just went through how it was a logical fallacy, how it was circular reasoning, how it was begging the question, then you agreed with that fact. That is what you are doing.
Of course, I am also against lying to children. I'm against using flaws in logic. In fact,
well, we can only take you at your character and what you do. I will know you by your fruit. This is you. You are this deceitful shyster. That's what you are. You think what, I'm going to assume that you're not like this around children? No, my friend, I will automatically assume that if you're going to lie to an audience of 500,000 people, that you'll be more willing to do it when it's a small group of children you're educating and indoctrinating with lies and deceitful behaviour like you're demonstrating here.
In fact, I want to teach students how to recognize logical fallacies.
Well, you did. You managed to employ one. Demonstrate to an audience, my audience, not your tiny little audience that you put this out to, how that is a fallacy because you don't have a measurement. And you've used circular reasoning to come to the conclusion. You've also declared how the indirect measurement is in no way affirmable as being spherical only. It could also be flat. So this is absolutely a flaw in logic. It's a logical fallacy. You have highlighted it.
However, I'm not lying or using a logical fallacy.
You're doing both. I've demonstrated it. I rewound the exact same words with you pointing it out as a fallacy straight after you'd used it as a fallacy. I used your own words to prove how big a liar you are.
When I teach students how Eratosthenes calculated Earth's radius.
No. Did you also tell them how it could also be done on a flat Earth? Let's see if he adds that to that.
No, you are doing that.
So he didn't also tell them, like he told us just a moment ago, that it doesn't infer sphericity only. He only tells them it's how he calculated Earth's radius. So he didn't give them the full story. So you lied by omission, at the very least. You are a liar by omission, then. Because you've just disclaimed that fact. But what did you tell the kiddies again? Was it about how it could also infer flatness and small and local sun? Now, we wouldn't state that, but you did. Did you tell the kiddies?
Fallacies. However, I'm not lying or using a logical fallacy when I teach students how Eratosthenes calculated Earth's radius.
No, you are doing that.
So you didn't tell him about its flatness, just how it was a calculation of Earth's radius, even though it could have been inferred to be flat, with a local sun and elevation angle measurements thereof. Yeah, you'd have to, because you're talking about angle measurements, my friend. But it did beg the question. It assumed Earth's a sphere, then calculated as a sphere to declare that it was a sphere, like you said. But you're only telling them that it's a calculation for a sphere. So you lied by omission. Facts. Yeah? More than willing to ask for you to be fired as a result of your lies by omission to children. You're willing to tell this small audience how it also infers flatness, but not the children who are being told it's only a calculation for sphericity. That's a logical fallacy. You pointed it out to us. Should be sacked. Simple.
That? You have just told me...
Eratosthenes.
Say again.
Dang, Eratosthenes.
How you assume Earth is a sphere because that's the only way you can justify measuring its radius. That is a flaw in logic called begging the question. That's...
He nodded his head. No, you agreed it could also infer flatness, so you've just nodded your head when it came to the lie by omission. Yeah? That's where you nodded.
It's not what I think you're doing, it's what you factually are doing, and it's your justification for lying to students.
He's just a nonchalant. Nah. That's his reaction. Glad you put your face up. Yeah? These little tells that you're reacting to, me and my disdain, are very, very poignant. Thank you, Matthew.
About Earth being a sphere. Now, that is why I...
Again, just a shrug of the shoulders. Well, when I tell the kiddies it's how Earth was calculated as a sphere, I'm not lying by omission. The omission of the thing I told you earlier about, it could be flat.
have a high level of disdain for teachers in this arena like conspiracy cats. Because he knows better. We've told you it's a flaw in logic.
And he's just smiling about it. Just smiling. Yet you've highlighted the flaw in logic. I've highlighted the flaw in logic. You've gone through the flaw in logic, pointed out how it's definitely not a singular inference for sphere only. But you're going to smile about it. Yeah, my disdain is totally justified.
You've conceded it's a flaw in logic, so it is not a reasonable justification to tell students Earth's a sphere. Comprende?
Sí, comprendo. I understand. Okay, you see what I mean. There's not much more to say about that.
What about the lies by omission? Not much to say about it. You mean you haven't got any defense for this?
Next we talk about...
Moving on. No, I'm saying you should have your job for this. The lies by omission. The declarations of how flat it could be. But it's only going to be the calculation for sphericity that you tell to the children. Yeah, I'm justified. I'm not just moving on. Sack him. You understand? Me using your own words against you and suggesting you should be fired for deceiving children? That's what's happening here, Matthew.
Length about celestial navigation. For most...
Requires a flat plane. On screen now, you've got an angle measurement. Can't get these from curved baselines. He told you himself. You can't put a straight edge on a curve. So what's this going to be doing? This looks very much like a straight edge, Matthew. You've already told us this won't work on curved surfaces, right?
Most of that, we were kind of talking past each other because there are two different ways of thinking about it, two ways of calculating your position depending on whether you think the Earth is a sphere or if it's flat. Now, both ways start the same. You start by finding a star in the sky and then using a nautical almanac to determine its GP
Nathan.
at that moment.
Yep.
Two ways of doing it. One, stay on the surface, measure it. The other is go to hell. I think we're going to have.
Or it's a geographic position, which is the point on Earth that is directly under that star. In other words, from that position on Earth, the angle elevation to the star is exactly 90 degrees.
Well, wait a second. Where's the sextant at? He went right to the naval almanac. What's the first step?
The step is measuring an angle to the base position on the ground of the star with an angle. That's only possible on a flat Earth by way of his own description.
He skipped that part.
He did seem to go straight to the almanac after measuring a flat Earth elevation angle measurement off a flat baseline to the GP position of the star. He seemed to skirt over that. Is it another lie by omission that you measure the flat baseline between you and the GP of the star, Matthew? Is that a lie by omission? I think you'll find it is. Yeah, it's the reason I get away with calling you scum, fraud, shyster, deceiver. It's why I can do that. Because we are detailing the bit you've omitted. And that would be the flat Earth baseline between you measuring the angle to the star and its ground position. And there's a flat line between the two. And this is step one, isn't it? So before any inference of going to hell for this angle, you're measuring it off a flat Earth. You just omitted that part.
Nathan.
Yes.
We're lost, sir. Navigator. What are you going to do?
I better find out it's height quick, sharp.
You got to find the naval almanac. Where do we put it?
No, I'll be measuring an angle along a flat baseline. I'll be using the horizontal to do so. I'll establish it with the horizon by leveling the sextant, by looking through it at the horizon, and then getting the angle to the star, and then measuring its ground position, GP, along a flat baseline between me and it. Could be thousands of miles between me and it at its ground position, and that ground position is flat because you're measuring an angle to it.
Nah, just go to the almanac. Wait, what's in the almanac again? What's in there?
GP positions of the stars at certain times.
So we just skip to the end of to the head of the class then.
What's
That's what we
that
do.
guy looking at in the picture above his right shoulder? Is that a naval almanac right there he's looking through?
It looks like he's measuring an angle, but you're basing it on the horizon, perhaps, to establish a horizontal baseline. I mean, he's not getting an almanac out. Why has he got this on screen? I don't get it. Step 1, get the almanac, right?
Like a sextant to me.
Sextant proves a flat Earth, Matthew, because step 1 is measure an elevation angle off a flat baseline. That's step 1.
Okay. Then you measure the angle of elevation.
See how his hand is? Is this curved, Matthew? Is this representative of a curved Earth that you're measuring the angle? If this was the star at 90 degrees ground position with respect to where you measure the angle, then 90 degrees would require Earth is flat. Because you can't have 90 degrees, as you just described, at the ground position if Earth is curving. So Matthew, step 1 is measure Earth flat, because this is a measurement of a flat Earth.
Of that
That's the way he
star
has
from
his
your
hand.
Yeah, flat. It's an angle. It can't be anything else. If it was a curved hand representing an angle, we'd call him an idiot. But step 1, measure Earth flat. Right, Matthew? Let's hear it again.
The angle elevation to the star is exactly 90 degrees directly overhead.
Over the star, 90 degrees to your position, because you're not measuring a star above you. You're measuring an angle to a star along a flat baseline with 90 degrees below it. So that will require a flat Earth then, Matthew. Can you show us with your hands how flat Earth must be for this angle? Obviously, it's not going to be a curved second line with 90 degrees at the base of it. It's going to be flat with 90 degrees to your position where you measure it. That's for flat Earth. Let's have a look, Matthew, how that would be done.
Okay. Then you measure the angle of elevation of that star from your position and do some calculations to determine your distance from that GP.
So your distance would be along a flat line then, to the 90 degree position below the star, along a flat Earth, Matthew. Matthew learns you've proved a flat Earth. Step 1, measure Earth flat.
Now, which calculation you use will depend on whether you say the Earth is a sphere or...
No, you just measured it flat, Matthew. Let me show you again. The calculation that you do thereafter won't depend on whether or not your assumption that's a logical fallacy is going to take effect, like it did before when Earth could have been flat, as you described it, and didn't tell the kiddies because you lied by omission and should be fired. But in this respect, we're not going to worry about what we've calculated thereafter because we've just taken a measurement. Let's have a listen to that measurement. Again.
The angle elevation to the star is exactly 90 degrees directly overhead.
So you've measured 90 degrees to your position overhead of the star. That's a flat Earth you've just measured, Matthew. Why would we be worrying about calculations of anything other than the flat Earth we've just measured? See, that sounds like you're letting your logical fallacy get the better of you. Like after we've measured Earth flat, we're going to go forth and decide how we're going to calculate this flat Earth angle measurement? No, Matthew, it's already been measured flat.
Okay, then you measure the angle of elevation
off a flat plane, 90 degrees below the star. Yeah, flat Earth required, Matthew. Step 1, flat Earth required.
Of that star from your position and do some calculations to determine your distance from that GP.
On a flat Earth. Yeah, that's right.
Now, which calculation you use will depend on whether you say the Earth is a sphere or if it's flat. For celestial navigation in the northern hemisphere, Polaris, or the North Star, is a pretty important star because it's always almost directly over the North Pole.
Navigator, we're lost. Did you get an elevation angle?
Quick, get me the almanac.
Okay. Oh, yes, man.
He said it depends on how what you think you're measuring, but doesn't he think it's a ball? And didn't he just say 90 degrees?
He just said he was measuring 90 degrees below the base of the star, which would absolutely, unequivocally prove Earth is being measured flat. But after he's measured it flat, he wants to know if the star that could be 1,000 miles away from him, and he's just measured an angle along a flat baseline, and the distance will be a flat baseline measurement. He needs to know if the surface you've just measured flat is actually curving or not, after he's measured it flat.
Navigator, look at the fork in a crossroad. You got the elevation angle.
I need to know if Earth's curving or not for me to take this angle that could only be 2 straight lines.
I need both.
You need it off a
If it's
curve
straight
too.
turn, I want that one.
Get me the sextant that measures curve angles then.
Don't worry, sir. Don't worry, sir. I've resolved it. I've calculated the height of the star. Relax.
Pole, so you can easily determine your distance from the North Pole and therefore your latitude. Okay, so how do you do that?
But did he just say latitude? What's latitude?
Yes, he did.
It's another word like equator.
Oh.
Brian, you there? Has he buggered off already?
He was smited by his simp.
Oh, was he? Neil, why did you do that? Right, somebody else then. This word's very unfamiliar to me. Latitude, he said. What's that?
That would be the elevation angle to Polaris.
Elevation angle measurement, like he described, with 90 degrees below Polaris along a flat baseline to your position. That's what these lines are derived from. Flat Earth elevation angle measurements to Polaris. Well, that's proving a flat Earth, isn't it?
What's an elevation angle again?
A measurement along a flat baseline with 90 degrees below the star in this example. So it'd have to be flat, otherwise you wouldn't have 90 degrees between that and your position, as he just described. Like here on screen, where you've got 90 degrees below Phil Bell, and then you've got your position along a flat baseline. It wouldn't be 90 if it wasn't.
The same thing he did with his hands, Nathan, when he was motioning with his hands to 90.
I'm sorry. He said he measured a 90 above his head. How'd he do that?
He used a sextant, not above his head. That's
With an almanac.
Almanac.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he measured the angle along a flat baseline with an almanac. My bad.
And that's where the difference between the two systems comes in. If you assume that the Earth is a globe, that elevation angle
The elevation angle below the star, 90 degrees to your position, would have a curve on the ground. Now, you just described the ground position of the star. Now, if you're going to suggest for 1 second that this position versus this position somehow gives you a 45-degree angle, then you'd be measuring off a curved surface for the baseline with 90 degrees below the star. This star, let's pretend that the star's here and you're at this position where he's got 90. Well, where's your 90 below the star? Doesn't exist anymore. You've just measured 90 below the star. You just explained that. But what if you put it on a sphere, it's not 90 below the star anymore? So it violates your first measurement then, if you put it on a sphere. So this doesn't work on a sphere because you no longer have 90 below the star.
tells you how much the ground at your location is tilted compared.
No, it wouldn't have 90 degrees below the star anymore. You stupid clown. You've just measured 90 below the star to your position. You just detailed it. If the ground was curving away from you, it wouldn't be 90 anymore. Are you fundamentally retarded?
Compared to the ground at the GP.
Sorry, the GP's got 90 at it. You stupid idiot. Are you mathematically illiterate? Do you not understand that 90s don't meet curves? You stupid idiot. Is this guy a maths teacher?
Yes.
You think 90 meets a curve? Sack him. The most basic principles he doesn't understand. He's described them earlier, literally 2 minutes before, and described 90 degree below the star. That's its ground position. Now he's saying about how the line meeting that 90 is curving. He's just stupid.
And you can use that to determine how far away you are from the GP.
No, you need a straight line for that. You're going to do it with triangles.
Is how far you are away around the sphere you are from that ground position.
Nope, you're going to be using triangles. They've got flat bases. See, maybe what you need is somebody who's considered less intelligent than you. Somebody that also operates in this arena of anti-flat earthism. So over to you, Dave. Tell him why it doesn't work on a globe. Quote, why it doesn't work on a globe? In order to do trig, you need a triangle. And triangles have flat sides. And obviously, the globe doesn't. End quote, Dave Triangles McKeegan. So why is it that somebody who's not educating children understands that 90 degrees will not meet a curve and therefore will not work on a sphere, but yet this person who is educating children doesn't understand that? That's why he should be sacked. It's just that simple. Thanks, Dave Triangles McKeegan, by the way. You've just schooled a university-level educator. Kudos. Great quote.
Just to, I think he's made up his own thing here. Using a sextant on a globe. There's two things. If you're going to do it to a globe, you go to hell. Fundamentally, that's how you equate things. You keep your flat plane. What you don't do is what's going off here. What he's doing here is just, this is no longer celestial navigation. This is trying to equate the geometry on a sphere. And unfortunately for him, fundamentally, he's assuming R. And now he's hidden it, He's hidden it because he's not used R. He's done 24,875, which is the circumferential value. But that's what he's doing. He's now using R to equate these angles that he can't take off a globe. But this isn't using a sextant on a globe. You still stay on a flat plane. You go to the equatorial plane in hell. But this appears to be his way of resolving it. Because look, his decider is if you're at
Wait a second.
degrees, it's 3109 miles. So that's just using R.
I hate to say this, but it's even more retarded than that. Read the first statement, please. First sentence.
I went straight to the numbers. If a star is directly overhead of point A and you're at point B, you can use a sextant.
Stop. If a star is directly overhead at point A, then how can it be directly overhead at point A if you're at point B?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Right, if a star is directly overhead of point A and you're at point B, you can use a sextant to determine the distance between A and B.
He specifically said the star has 90 degrees. Well, this hasn't got 90 degrees on this diagram. Between your measurement position and the GP position of the star, there is 90 degrees. Not anymore. Not on a globe, there isn't.
How can it be directly overhead at point A when you're at point B? Doesn't that like?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe you don't understand what overhead means. Now, I'll break down the English for you, as you felt the need to ad hom me about a misspeak. Overhead means over your head. Zenith, right? No, you're right, QE. That's just appalling grammar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say Zenith at point A. You can't be over the head of a point.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to the original point that you guys bypassed. It didn't sink into you when he pulled out the sextant and he measured 90 degrees over his head. You don't
is 10th
do that
man
with
there?
us.
Is 10th man there? 10th
Just a
man, let me
sec.
get this one.
No 10th man isn't here.
Matthew didn't get it because it went over his head. It went over his head. Pun for the day.
On that diagram, the previous picture, he was using triangles to measure the angle to the star that's got a zenith.
Yes.
At point A. If you look at what he's now drawn, he's got one tangent at point A and one tangent at point B. Now, in the previous diagram, to use and measure these angles, those tangents actually need to be one straight line.
Yes.
Together for that previous slide where he's taking the angle to make any sense. As you can see now, makes absolutely no sense. Look where his straight line is going. Where's his star? Yeah, so this is like I said, this is now just doing geometry on the outside of a ball. He's not doing celestial navigation. He's not doing celestial navigation on a globe with an equatorial plane. He's just doing Matthew's version, as far as I can see, which is just balancing angles and denying the geometric principle he just previously stated.
I would like to. I would like to see him show where he measures a 90-degree angle with the sextant, Adam.
He doesn't. He can't. This isn't that. It hasn't got that. The sphere will never give him that, ever. Just want to do a quick shout out. So the numbers have actually crawled up quite nicely. So 75 people watching, which typically isn't the case when I turn a members-only video public. But in this case, the computer's running fine and we've actually got a half-decent audience. So I will actually suggest that you do share the show. We're not at the end of this video yet, and we are going to try and get all the way through it. Although it's getting pretty late and my wife's probably going to start getting anxious soon. But yeah, we're going to try and plod our way through as much of this as we possibly can in response to Matthew on his crappy little channel that nobody's watching. Anyway, please share the show. Also, as is the case, and to be fair, he did actually put a link, even though it's entirely up to him. It's not an obligation to put it on his big channel. And I do still thank him that he did put my link to the 97 people, or however many it was that watched this. But please let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 responded to your lies, deceit, and further reiteration of you being sacked.
Position. Now, this assumes the Earth is a sphere and assumes that the star is infinitely far away and that the light coming from the star is parallel everywhere on Earth.
So it just sounds like assumptions on top of assumptions on top of assumptions to me. Meanwhile, you haven't got a 90 degree below the star in this example. It's not there anymore. You've just measured it, but now it's not there.
Now, because the Earth is a sphere...
That's an important admission.
Go on.
An important admission there, look. If you see, look, everybody's seeing the star in the same place, and he's just denied perspective there. Things are infinitely far away, and the only reason there's an angular change in the sky isn't distance, it's Earth curve. It's the only thing now attributed to angular change. A complete removal of perspective, but that's what that diagram's showing. Everything's infinitely far away. Do those lines from the blue lines going up, do they meet?
No.
No. But they're looking at the same thing in his diagram.
Each degree of difference in any direction is 60 nautical miles away from the GP.
Along a flat baseline. So one angle with reference to a flat baseline. Not with reference to a curve, it wouldn't be an angle, Matthew. These are basic principles of angle measurements, that they're not measure and curve angles along curved baselines. If you're measuring an angle, you're establishing a horizontal for the first line, that's the baseline. The GP is the ground position, and for every 1 degree it declines towards the horizon is 60 nautical miles. Right, well, that's a flat earth proof right there. Because you're measuring angles off a flat baseline, not off a curve. They wouldn't be angles.
In fact, that's the origin of the nautical mile.
A flat earth. That's correct. Nautical miles origin is a flat earth angle measurement off a flat baseline. Correct. Sod all to do with this, because what, as it decreases towards the horizon, it's decreasing 1 degree? No, you can't get a degree off a curve. Doesn't work. So you're hijacking flat earth elevation angle measurements to make your assertions of sphericity again? No, they don't work in this instance at all.
Well, point A and point B, is he saying that in order for somebody to be lost, there has to be 2 people, A and B?
Maybe. If they've both got stars overhead.
That they measured.
For example, if a star is 45 degrees down from the zenith,
you'll be proving a flat Earth. You'll be proving a flat Earth with that, Matthew.
Nathan.
Yes.
Navigator. We're lost. Check the radio, see if anyone else is around.
No, don't be silly. Get me the almanac. We need to know how high it is. That star we're looking at.
That is 1/8 of the whole circle. So you are 1/8 of the way around the circumference of Earth compared to...
It seems like you're taking the flat Earth elevation angle measurement and inferring that what you've actually done is taken a rotation value from the centre of a sphere Earth that you've assumed. But you haven't. You've measured an angle along a baseline to the ground position. It's not Earth turning to change the degree. Was that a little bit of sleight of hand there, Matthew? Yeah, it didn't slip by us.
To the GP of the star, 2,700 nautical miles. So that's one way to do it.
No, you measured a flat Earth elevation angle measurement and then right at the end juxtaposed that as a degree turn of a spherical surface. No, you measured an angle off a flat baseline, my friend. You proved a flat Earth.
This calculation does not use right triangles. Now, if you...
What? Sorry, triangulation doesn't use right triangles?
That's false, because what he's done is create tangents at point A and B to then draw right triangles onto it. So I don't get how you can say that. That's the whole point of creating the tangent at the surface, so that you can create a right angle triangle. And that was the first slide he showed, the first premise, which is why he has to break it in two on his ball.
If you do celestial navigation on a flat Earth, you end up with something like this diagram with the right triangle. Nathan was arguing that because this triangle has a flat baseline on a right angle, therefore the ground must also be flat.
That's correct. You just described it also when you described the GP at 90. That's what's done.
I was going to say, wasn't he the one saying that just now about the GP? Didn't he say 90 degrees?
Yes. Yes, he did.
Is he smoking crack?
He must be smoking crack. Maybe that's why he should be sacked. Because to declare that you need a 90 degree at the GP, that's the ground position of the star you're measuring, and then say, well, if you're measuring it on flat Earth, you'd have 90 degree at the ground position. Ha ha ha. Yeah, you would. You do. That's how it's measured. You even described it yourself. Are you insane?
Does he realize to have a 90-degree angle, that's a right triangle? Can he define right triangles for everyone, please?
Yeah, I think he needs to.
Conversation.
Do you know what a triangle is?
Yeah, right on cue. This is what he's responding to with his smug face again. Everything that we're objecting to again now, he's going to, put up on screen? Like, here's their objections that I haven't overcome in any way. And if I reiterate them, it's like I've overcome them. If I put them back at the opponent who put them at me, it's like I've overcome them.
Try and picture that.
Yes.
Do you know what a 90-degree triangle is, Matthew?
Yes, I'm picturing
Imagine the flat bit that meets the 90. Imagine the straight line going up being the zenith, and then the 90-degree being the baseline that meets it along the ground to your position. Do you know about that triangle? This isn't really that complicated, Matthew. Do you understand that if you've got a zenith that's plumb to the ground, that's the ground position, and it's 90 degrees to the baseline ipso facto is flat?
Okay, so no, just because the triangle you use has a flat baseline doesn't mean that the surface of the Earth is actually flat.
So just because there's a flat line between a U and a 90 of a star, it doesn't mean that the flat line and 90 is flat. Sack him immediately. Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely unequivocally what it means.
What never ceases to amaze me, y'all, is that the strength of globers and anti-flat earthers is math. But when it comes to trig and geometry, that's where they become dumbfounded, coincidentally.
Let me just reiterate what Matthew's saying to you as an audience member. He's saying, you see this flat line that must be flat to have this 90? It doesn't have to be flat. That's what he's saying to you. I'm going to play it again because that's basically what he's telling you. This flat line with 90 doesn't mean it's flat.
No, he's also saying that a 90-degree angle is not a right triangle.
Flat.
Okay, so no, just because the triangle you use has a flat baseline doesn't mean that the surface of the Earth is actually flat. At this point in the conversation, I finally understood that he was talking about a triangle like this, and I posted this image in the chat, but I'm not sure he saw it.
Fifth attempt with a university-grade mathematician being dragged around by a drama student.
Okay, so yes, 46.
Sorry, do you want to say it louder? Sorry, yes, it is a flat baseline that we will be navigating.
Yes, it is a flat base.
Earth is flat.
So yes, it is a flat baseline, Matthew. Yeah, at the ground position, but that doesn't mean the ground is flat. Yes, it does. Because the ground position's got 90 degrees to your position along a flat baseline. That's how a triangle is measured. That's what we're doing. And you concede, yes, it is a flat base. Yeah, that's the ground position, Matthew. Below the star. Could be thousands of miles away from you along a flat baseline with 90 degrees to it. That is a flat Earth.
Flat then, Matthew. Then the Earth is flat.
Okay, so
It's a flat Earth.
I'm picturing what I posted in.
Sorry,
in the chat.
you
Is
just
that what
need to
you're talking
concede like the last guy. The baseline we will be travelling along and are navigating is functionally and mathematically flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And here's the part where I want to take it back.
Really? You want to take it back? What, your concession and agreement that the flat baseline with a ground position, that's on the ground, doesn't mean the ground is flat. Could be curving, even though we're measuring the ground with ground positions along flat baselines. You're double-speaking, fundamentalist, religious zealot, you should be sacked. Yeah, if it's flat, functionally measured, calculable as flat with 90, that doesn't mean it's curved, Matthew. But you, being a fundamentalist religious zealot, must peddle that to children. Yep, that's why I'm calling for your job.
Thinking about it more carefully, no, I wouldn't now say that navigation is actually mathematically flat. And
even though you've just described 90 degrees to a flat baseline from your position that is functionally, mathematically, most certainly flat, it isn't because what? You've got a sphere Earth belief?
Functionally flat. But here's what I ended up saying.
Yeah, sure.
So Earth, that would be the Earth. That would be the Earth that we will be navigating is flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Yeah, we're navigating on the Earth and functionally it's flat, and we navigate along a flat map, of course.
Welcome to Flat Earth, Matthew. That's correct. From a university-grade mathematician, for all of you ladies and gentlemen, that will be trimmed out and posted everywhere. That's a university-grade mathematician telling you, the audience, that Earth is functionally measured and navigated flat. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Of course, that's why all maps are flat. Like,
Of course,
I mean,
of course.
the 3D, except for 3D maps.
Okay, so I want to be clear. Although we do use flat maps and can navigate with flat maps,
using flat baselines and flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the ground position at 90 degrees to your position, that's flat. So you start off by saying that's correct then. But even though we can and do measure and navigate flat, the thing that you're saying, the flat line we can and do and will measure and navigate with, could actually be curved? No, Matthew. No, as you've already conceded, but want to take back on this crappy little channel? No, Matthew, it is functionally flat. That's why you conceded that. But now it doesn't comport with a globe Earth that's curving mathematically, so you want to take it back. I see.
that doesn't mean that the Earth is actually flat.
Well, you're talking about ground positions. So the positions on the ground are measured flat, but it doesn't mean the ground is flat. Yeah, it does.
Yes, the baseline of a right triangle is completely flat.
With the ground position of the star along a flat baseline to your position, which isn't this on screen now at all.
But celestial navigation on a globe doesn't even use right triangles.
Sorry, celestial navigation on a globe doesn't use right triangles. What the hell do you think triangulation is?
Yes, you can
he doesn't
project
think a
small
90-degree right angle or 90-degree triangle is a right angle triangle. He doesn't know that.
Yes, the baseline of a right triangle is completely flat. But celestial navigation on a globe doesn't even use right triangles. Yes, you can project small
Why did he
portions of the
spend all
globe
that time describing 90 degrees? What the hell? What's wrong with him?
onto flat maps and use those maps to navigate, but that does not mean the Earth is flat.
So we measure it flat. We get angles to flat Earth baselines with 90 degrees that could only mean that they're mathematically, factually flat. And we use flat maps, but it doesn't mean it's flat. That's absolutely compelling, Matthew. I mean, geez, wet. You must be good at this.
Here's the kind of flat Earth navigation.
Hold on. From Jacoby Harold, Professor of Astronomy, Columbia University, Navigation, Chapter 6, The Sextant, from Cornell University Library. This height of the sun or of any star in the sky is called its altitude. And so the altitude is always an angle to be measured in degrees or minutes. The point directly overhead is the zenith. The angle between the lines drawn to the horizon and zenith is 90 degrees or a right angle. End of Matthew. Thank you very much.
Sack him. Just sack him. The guy's a deceitful shyster.
Nathan was talking about with the right triangle. This is from John's Globebusters site. The trigonometry shown here is accurate. However, if you're going to try to find the distance from you to the GP of the star using simple trigonometry and the tangent function, you would need to know the height of the star, the elevation or the distance between the GP and the star.
Nathan!
If 10th Man was here, he would read out the citation that specifically says you don't need the height. You're measuring the angle.
He's conflating two things. Are we doing trigonometry, or as he previously just stated, celestial navigation? There's a difference. You may not understand the two.
No, he's convoluting the two. He's describing trig and saying celestial navigation. So when he says celestial navigation and then says you need the height, we'll need a citation for that because it is absolutely not the case. You're not trying to calculate. Let me lay it out for him. You're trying to find where you are on the ground, Matthew. You're trying to locate your position with respect to the, as you detailed, GP. That's ground position of the star. And again, as detailed by you, you're trying to figure out the distance to the ground position of the star. Now, the way you do that is minus it from 90, that's the angle, and then times it by 60. And that gives you the distance in nautical miles between you and the GP position of the star. Now, are we, pray tell, Matthew, navigating to the star, which will have moved by the time you get there, or do we need to know the height of it to find its GP? No! But that's this poorly educated, ill-informed, ignorant, fraud shyster's view on how we do navigation. We don't need the height, Matthew. Yeah? That just shit the bedlock on your face is very appropriate.
Nathan!
Yes.
Navigator! We're lost! What are you going to do?
We need to find the height of the star immediately! What a dick.
Or I guess you could do it with the hypotenuse and the cosine function using your distance to the star, but nautical...
Your distance to the star, the one that's infinite on a globe, wouldn't that be an infinite distance, you crazy shithead? You need the distance to it. You've just told us on a globe it's fucking infinite. Sack him immediately. Double speaking clown. Are they infinite on a globe, or do we need to know the smegging distance, you stupid double speaking shithead?
Almanacs don't have that star distance information. Why?
Because it's not required. You're trying to find your position on the ground. You're not trying to get to the star.
Why not? Well, because it's not used.
No way. He's just told us we would need to know the height of the star on a flat Earth, and then declared quite boldly in celestial navigation it's not used. Just listen to this again.
Sine function using your distance to the star, but nautical almanacs don't have that star distance information. Why not? Well, because it's not used.
So why in unholy hell would we need to use it on a flat Earth then when it's not used? So your little straw man has also got the reason your straw man is a straw man in the explanation of your straw man. So on a flat Earth we need the height, but yet when measuring elevation angle measurements along a flat baseline to find our ground position with the ground positions of the stars, we won't be using the height. Yeah, that's right, Matthew. You don't need the height in celestial navigation even if you straw man a flat Earth with it after you've taken angles from a flat Earth. couple of quick shout outs. Shout out to Unitox Fenu, who says, "Sir, nobody on the boat doesn't know star distance." Thank you for the super chat. Also, shout out to Face Reality. He says, "Nathan, he cannot be sacked when he doesn't have a sack. Plus, there's no balls in space." Thank you very much for the super chat. Really, really appreciate the support. Also, shout out to Tony Whitcomb. "Matthew can't even think straight. It's all bent logic in his world." Yeah, that's not my problem. He's just going to get berated. Thank you for the super chat.
This is really weird. It's like he's admitting all he's doing is repeating our points for us. Like the almanac doesn't have it, etc., etc. And his defense seems to be to agree with our points and then just move on to the next thing. It's the weirdest rebuttal video I've seen, because the first part, all he did was double down on his rotational speed thing, repeat the point, highlight the point, as if that addressed his point. And this is the same thing here. His objection to us is to describe that we know that we don't need a height. And it's the most lacking of substance rebuttal I've ever seen.
His objection is his rebuttal is to tell us for, I don't know how long this video is, most of it, spend that whole time telling us about flat baselines and 90 degrees up to the GP and all that. And then at the end of it to say, well, celestial navigation doesn't use right triangles on the globe.
And that's weird. It doesn't, but then I'm just going to detail in my first slide how it does.
Yeah, we'll tell you all about how it's not doing what I'm going to detail.
And it wouldn't work on a flat Earth because you need the height of the star. But why isn't the height of the star referenceable? Because it's not needed.
Yep. That checks out.
Also, using right triangles would mean that the rule of 60 nautical miles per degree wouldn't work.
Even though it's based on an angle dropping towards the horizon. And that's specifically how you triangulate your position. You're saying it wouldn't work. That is how it works. You take the angle, minus it from 90, times it by 60, and it gives you the distance in nautical miles to the GP of the star. That's how it works. That is how it is done.
Since the tangent
Wait,
and cosine.
I didn't hear you say light years in that description. We don't use light years on a boat?
I'm thinking no, Brian.
No, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
I have a couple of points to make because I was listening in just the past couple of minutes. I had to go away for a while. Yeah, first of all, on what he said about the height of the star, the length of the hypotenuse of the right-angled triangle is determined by the length of the adjacent with a celestial navigation elevation angle, right? And the elevation angle is so you can get a zenith angle, right? The zenith angle gives you the distance along your adjacent, which determines the length of the hypotenuse. It has nothing to do with the height of a star. It's got to do with the GP point.
There's no hypotenuse length. There's no opposite length. There's only the adjacent length.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that the adjacent length is the only measurement you're making. That's the point I'm making. And the length of the hypotenuse is based off of that, but you don't give it a length because it's immaterial. The whole point is that you
can't have a length either.
But you're not.
Just as the opposite hasn't got a length, the height. Conversely, the hypotenuse doesn't have either, because it would be predetermined by part function of the height, its length.
But
neither have a length. All you do is use coangles with the knowledge that you've got two parallel planes, the sky and the surface, running parallel, flat to each other, and that enables you to translate that coangle distance down to give you the surface distance of the adjacents of both. So
correct.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that you're using the elevation angle to get your zenith angle, which gives you the co-altitude, the distance in a straight line, a straight horizontal across the sky from your vertical, from your zenith. And that determines then the length of your adjacent, which leads us on to, that's my point, it determines the length of the adjacent, right? What he's talking about is a height which would involve the length of the hypotenuse and the opposite, which is not part of it. You are using actually two right triangles, right, one on top of the other, but you're not using the length of the sides. You're just using the roof and the baseline, which leads us to the second thing he said about the 60 nautical miles. That's 60 minutes of degree gives you 60 nautical miles. Those minutes of degree are an angle measurement. That happen along the sky and along the surface of the Earth simultaneously. That's two horizontal parallel planes, and it's an angle, so it can't be taken on the surface of a sphere Earth. You can't have the 60 nautical miles per degree without the angle. You can't have that without a horizontal plane. It's a perspective measurement, and these people are constantly trying to strawman us with this.
Yep.
The only last thing I'll say...
before you all interject, I just want to do a couple of shouts out. So please share the show. We did see about 80 viewers, although that's dropped a little bit now. But yeah, we're going to stay live till the end of Matthew Learns or Matthew Weathers or Matthew Investigates or whatever this channel's called video. But the nature of the late show has meant I've just had to bribe my wife with a meal. So please smash the super chat.
One last thing before we talk to cause. One last thing before we talk to cause.
Oh, God. Go ahead and bump us him every time he opens up his mouth, Chocolate.
I didn't hear Matthew Learns tell us how it works on a globe. He says it doesn't require right-angled triangles. Okay, then, Matthew, tell us how it works on the globe. Thanks, Nathan.
He did. It requires lots of different right-angled triangles that you put together to try and ignore a spherical surface when you've already pre-assumed the R value. He didn't even use equatorial plane. He tried to construct it all on the outside of a ball. It was quite funny.
Did he? I didn't miss that part. Wow, that's pathetic.
They're not linear. So it's not clear to me that celestial navigation could even, in principle, work on a flat Earth.
It has to work on a flat Earth. You can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline, Matthew. It's pretty sad that you can't recognize this.
Wait. Didn't he just say we don't use right triangles in celestial navigation on a globe? Now celestial navigation doesn't work on a flat Earth either. What the hell's Matthew, man? Get a grip.
Matthew is right in terms of the height of the star. You have to know it to extrapolate the distance.
They don't.
But he said we don't need
that one more
height.
time.
He said, I think you're suggesting that we do need the height, Rebel, right?
To extrapolate the distance to the GP, you have to know the height, yes.
No, you don't.
But the height is always assumed.
That's incorrect. Hold on. Let me just address that. That's incorrect. So I've detailed it twice, but I will detail it again. So to get the distance to the GP, you take the angle, you minus that number from 90. That's the 90 degrees. And then you times it by 60. And that number is the distance from your position to the GP. Obviously, if you're going to triangulate, you're going to draw out with the scale of the map a circle from the GP position. And you're going to be somewhere on that circle because the circle's equidistant from that GP point. In other words, they're all the same distance along that circle. You just need to know where on that circle you are. But you don't need the height. You just need the angle.
Yeah, but when you say times 60, that implies the distance. So it all stems to
but that's
relative
the distance along the surface.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on. Hello? He's still in the middle of the same sentence.
Yeah, but he said distance. Distance to what?
To your position relative to the star, to the GP.
Not to the star, not to the GP.
Once you start
it's
talking,
star GP. Which one?
Guys, I don't know. In my mind, it's very simple. In order for you to extrapolate the distances from the angles.
What he's asking you, Rebel, what QE's asking is, which distance do you think you're getting? You said GP and star. So if you're saying distance from you to the GP or distance from you to the star, which one are you saying?
To GP.
Okay. Now, why do we need to know the height?
In order for you to extrapolate the distances, yes, in order for you to extrapolate the distances, because it's like I'm a programmer, is a commonly used function called extrapolation, right? In order for you to extrapolate the
it's not
distance,
extrapolation. You're not
giving the-
doing any
Rebel,
extrapolations.
sorry to interrupt, but we're not doing that. We're doing celestial navigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We
understand.
were, and now you're trying to do trigonometry all of a sudden.
I don't think he's even doing that.
No. Just explain the
Yeah.
difference. You were doing celestial navigation, and the only side length you're going to determine is the adjacent, the distance between the observer and the GP of the star. That's the only side length you're going to get from that. It's the only one that's calculable. Yeah, the rest are kind of mute. If you then move forward and determine anything else, you're not doing celestial navigation anymore. You're now trying to apply trigonometry to the other side lengths that you, when you've only acquired one, not through trigonometry, but through celestial navigation. I don't think the two methods are interchangeable.
Rebel, do you think that we're trying to solve the right triangle in celestial navigation? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why?
There
We're not.
it is.
Okay, we're not. We're trying to find.
Here you go.
Hold on. Your responses are contradictory, and I'll explain why. I asked you, what distance are we calculating? Well, we just distance the GP, correct? Well, now you're saying, no, we are trying to solve the right triangle. Okay, so for the height that we don't need, why? Are we traveling to the star? Why are we trying to solve that? We don't need it.
I'll explain why. Once you start mentioning the distance to JP from your position, right? You extrapolating the distance. My question to you is, where did you get 60 per degree in the first place? 60 miles or 69 miles? I forgot.
That's how it calculates.
That is the formula of extrapolation.
It's a function of perspective. In terms of where the star is noted as being above at a given time, as it moves, it will move that distance in nautical miles, and you can measure that. 1 degree of declination would mean that it's moved that far across the land. So now it's 60 nautical miles over a new position if it's dropped 1 degree towards the horizon. Well, that's just how it functions. I mean, regardless, you don't need...
That's what
I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there. Regardless, you don't need the height. You need the distance between you and the position on the ground below the star. Not the height. Ever. You don't need it.
Right. Let me give you an example. Maybe that will clarify my position. So suppose you're in the sea and trying to use the sextants to extrapolate to identify the angle to the star, right? So then you extrapolate the distance from the angle. If I put that star below its current position or above its current position, your angle will change, right?
No. If you rise up in altitude and measure the angle, it remains exactly the same. It's part of the majesty of the stars. That's why you can use the sextant on an aeroplane. You're inferring that you would raise up in elevation and it would alter the angle. Because you're getting closer to it? Nope. Sextants work exactly the same on the plane as they do on the ground. Doesn't change at all. The angle remains the same. Part of the majesty of the heavens. But no, you are wrong.
I don't think you understood.
Can I give Rebel an example
so if you're at the sea looking at the star, right? Let's say it's 1,000 miles away from you in terms of GP.
What is?
Right?
Star? What is?
The GP.
We'd only know that by measuring the angle to the star, minusing it from 90 and timesing it by 60. Once we've got that, once we're at that position, we don't need anything else at all.
No, I understand. You're speaking past my point. My point is once you establish the degree, the angle of elevation to the star, your assumption is a certain distance from you to the GP, right? Whatever that distance is according to the angle.
No, that's where it would
If I move
measure.
that star...
No, it's not an assumption. You're measuring it. You're measuring the angle to give you the distance. You're not assuming anything.
Yeah, you're getting the angle.
Yeah.
But my point is, if I move that star, imagine we are in a 3D model of a flat stationary.
But we're not. We're doing celestial navigation. We're acquiring an angle, minusing it from 90, times it by 60, and then drawing a circle around its GP based on the scale of the map. So then we can do it another once or twice to find out where we are. At no point in that process, as you have asserted, do we need the height. You are incorrect.
No, you are asserting asserting it because you're asserting it by timing it by 60. You're asserting the height
No,
of the
you're
star.
not.
No, you're
No,
not.
you're
Rebel.
trying to assert it.
Okay, so
but
my
you're-
question to you is, where do you
no,
get 60
dude,
then from?
dude, you're trying to assert it because you're trying to make this
No, I'm not.
trigonometry. No, I'm not.
I'll explain.
I'm not trying to assert anything. Yeah, I'm using celestial navigation, nothing to do with trigonometry, to get an elevation angle and tell me the distance to the GP of that star. That's all I'm doing. It's got nothing to do with trigonometry per se. The only thing it's got is I'm using the principle of a right angle triangle to define my elevation angle. But that's it. As for being able to have links to trigonometry with regards to other relationships, the full relationships of all the angles and the side lengths, that is not what I'm doing. To make any leap into that is into a new
You're wrong.
subject and's got
I don't think you understood my
Rebel,
position.
you're wrong.
I don't think you understood
Rebel.
my position.
what I've just done.
Let me explain.
So
it to
you're
you. That's
talking
where the
about
60 comes
elevation
from.
angles, right? That's fine. I have absolutely no problems with it. Once you start extrapolating the distances to the GP, that assumes the elevation of the star. Whatever that may be, you skim past it. And that's what Matthew is trying to point out.
What?
It doesn't, Rebel. It doesn't.
Yeah,
Do you know where the 60 comes
it
from?
does.
Do you want me to tell you where the 60 comes from? Will I tell you where the
Okay,
60
tell
comes
me.
from? 60 nautical miles per degree starts off at 60 minutes of degree. So every 1 degree that you see that star change in relation to your horizon, let's say the star becomes 1 degree closer to your horizon, that means that star, right, is an extra 60 nautical miles away from you. Because a nautical mile is 1 minute of
that
degree.
assumes the elevation.
Hang on. No,
the two are
you're not listening.
The two are
You're not
inseparable.
listening. You're talking instead of
I am
listening,
listening.
Rebel.
No,
You're
I've been
not
listening
because I'm trying to
you guys
explain it to you, and you're trying to argue with
for
me.
days.
You
I
don't.
know what I'm
Rebel,
talking
You're trying to
about.
argue with me.
Rebel, calm down a little bit, bro. Relax.
You need to listen to me, Rebel. The 60 nautical miles are 60 minutes of degree. A nautical mile is 1 minute of degree. That's where a nautical mile comes from. It just happens to work out as 69 statute miles that are measured along the surface of the Earth. So they broke up because 1 degree is 60 minutes, that means that 69 statute miles becomes 60 nautical miles. It's all based on perspective and the measurement of perspective. You're not using the length of the opposite side. You're not using the length of the hypotenuse. You're using them to get your elevation and zenith angle, but you're not using them within your calculation. Your measurement is purely a measurement of perspective, where all the minutes of degree of that star above the horizon, once you subtract it from 90, that then you multiply it by 60, because there's 60 minutes of degree in each degree, and that gives you your horizontal distance along the surface of the Earth in nautical miles. So your co-altitude will be in minutes of degree, and your distance between you and the GP point will be in nautical miles. So for every 1 minute of degree, there will be 1 nautical mile. That's how it works. Nothing to do with the length of the sides.
No, yes, it does. So let me point out contradiction in your logic. You've derived.
There's not more
the
contradiction in my logic,
Brian,
okay,
just let him
okay,
respond.
let me finish.
Go on.
You've derived the distance from angles. According to your words, depending on the angle, that's how the nautical miles are measured. It depends fundamentally on the angles. So if you change the angle, meaning the elevation of the star from your position to the GP, your nautical miles measurements will change. Yes, according to your math, because we're deriving nautical miles from angles, your nautical miles will remain the same. Physical distance, however, will change. Physical distance. We're talking about, measuring
along the surface of Earth. Yes, along the surface of Earth.
Yes.
The
Therefore,
adjacent
it
will
implies
change in length. Yeah,
you're
the adjacent
deriving
will change in
nautical
length.
miles from angles. Okay,
Yeah.
you're deriving nautical miles from angles.
That's correct.
Whatever angles that might be, yes, but it doesn't give you the physical distance. physical
does.
distance.
Yes, it does. That's what you're doing with it.
Yes, it does.
That's the whole point of it.
It's
Hold
the
on, you
radius
derive
value for the
physical
circle
distance
that
in
you're
nautical
gonna
miles.
that you're
Hold
gonna
on,
draw,
hold on.
man.
Let
Nordic,
Rebel,
hold on, guys.
hello,
Nautical
let
miles
Rebel
derived
respond.
from the distance. Nautical miles are derived from the angle, elevation angle to the star, to the elevation angle to the star.
Yes.
That's how you derive. It's yes. So it's a chicken and an egg question. So you're using nautical miles that derived from elevation to tell the distance.
Not from
But if
elevation.
the elevation changed,
Stop. No. You're not deriving the distance from elevation. You're just deriving it from the elevation angle. That's not the elevation.
yeah, elevation angle. That's what I meant. I misspoke.
But
Elevation angle,
But,
of course.
but your assertion that you're defending is that that has anything to do with the height. That's the elevation.
No, it has everything to do with the height. Let me explain to you. Maybe let's not use the
Before you do,
nautical miles.
but before you do, you appreciate that we are only using the angle to get the distance along the ground. You appreciate that, yeah?
That's my point. That's my point. Yes.
So
That's exactly my
just,
point.
Just before you carry on, so you appreciate that the angle, not the height of the star, but the angle measured to the star, gives you your distance on the ground, and not the height. You understand that?
No. I
Okay.
understand what you're saying, but I don't agree with your assumption.
Let me explain. That's fine. Right. As the star drops towards the horizon, we infer, because of the calculation minus from 90 times by 60, that the distance in nautical miles is increasing by 60 per degree it drops towards the horizon. Now, when it gets to the horizon, notwithstanding refraction, or whatever they want to term the star slowing down as it reaches the horizon, it's not ever going to actually touch the ground, is it? Because it's apparent in terms of its position. It's an angular representation. That's apparent. So it's not going to touch the floor, is it?
I don't think you
I'm just asking, will the star at the horizon touch the ground?
No, of course it will never
So how
do
can
that.
we possibly extrapolate height from this then?
Well, now you're mixing a perspective into it, right? So apparent visual representation would appear to you as if star touched the ground. But of course, if you're standing at the GP of the star, it will remain at the same elevation. My point is you're deriving...
You keep using the word wrong. No, it won't remain at the same elevation. It will be at your zenith, above your head. But you don't know the elevation.
Exactly, we don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. We don't know the elevation, but we extrapolating the distance based on the degree, right? That's what the 60-mile nautical miles comes from, per degree. So nautical miles come directly from the measurement of angles.
Yes.
It's not a physical distance. You understand? So if the physical distance to the star...
It is. It's 60 miles from your
No, it
location.
isn't.
Yeah,
if it's 1
it's
degree.
based on 360 degrees. It's based on the clock.
No,
it's
it doesn't.
The circle is your circle of equal altitude.
Okay,
for
stop a
every
second,
degree
Tasha.
on that circle,
Stop.
it's 60 nautical miles.
No, nautical
Stop a
miles
second,
intrinsically
please.
related
Hold
to
on.
geometry.
Hello. So is what you're suggesting, Rebel, that it doesn't work? You're saying it's not giving you an actual distance, ergo celestial navigation doesn't work, correct?
No, I did not say that.
No, hold on, stop. According to you, it won't give you an actual distance. Well, then you won't.
No.
That's what you just said.
No.
It won't give you an actual distance. That's what you just said.
No, that actual distance to the star is assumed.
No.
That's why the calculations
Not the
work.
star. Not the
star.
stop. Everybody else, can you please button it? No, we're not trying to get the distance to the star, Rebel. We're trying to get the actual distance to the ground position, and that is precisely what we do achieve when performing celestial navigation. Many lives have been saved because of that actual distance that is attainable. You're saying it isn't, and then when I say, yeah, it is, that's what's being done, you say distance to star. No, that's not necessary, never was, and we are getting actual distances to GPs. That's what it's for.
You have not understood my point. No,
Yeah.
you've contradicted everything I've said. That's not what I'm talking about. And I'm trying very hard on pinpoint to your to extrapolate to explain to you what I'm trying to say.
Okay, have another.
You extrapolated the distances based on the angle of elevation.
Correct. It's the sixth
Therefore,
time you've said
nautical
that. Yes,
mile-
that's correct. We got the actual distance to the GP from our location with the angle only. No involvement of height.
No. You got the distance through the process of celestial navigation. You
My bad.
measured an elevation angle, and the distance was acquired through celestial navigation process.
Yeah, let me reverse engineer that. Let's say you from one angle of degree of elevation to the star away from GP, right? So
No,
then
just deal
you
with the
would
fact that it's
call
just
it.
been laid out straight. Why
I
reverse
can't put the
engineer it?
sentence through before I'm interrupted. Guys, you are wrong. Matthew is right in terms of assumption of the elevation.
No.
Because-
There is no assumption of elevation. There is a measurement of elevation angle.
Well, I'm telling you why. So he's right
Tell
in
me
terms of
where
pointing it
the
out.
stop. Tell me where the assumption of elevation comes in, please, in celestial navigation. Go.
More nautical miles. In order for you to extrapolate what the distance, physical distance of nautical mile is.
Okay. Sorry. So nautical miles is where we need the height of the star from. When nautical miles is specifically a ground distance. Wrong. No, we don't need the height from that. That's incorrect. You don't need to interrupt while I point out how wrong you are. No, that's a measurement along the ground, Rebel. Nothing to do with the height of the star.
Yeah, but
Zero. So Matthew is in fact wrong. I'm contradicting you. It doesn't require constant interruption. Thank you, Rebel. It requires you to pay attention to how wrong Matthew was when we use specifically, by your own admission 5 times, the angle to the star to get the distance along the ground by way of celestial navigation. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, but the distance is intrinsically dependent on the angle.
Yeah, not
So
the
you're
height.
deriving
Yes,
distance from the angle.
the angle. Yes, that's the 7th time. Yes,
Right.
yes, we understand that. Not the height,
Right,
though,
but if
Rebel.
the angle-
So, Rebel.
Yeah, but the
Yeah, Rebel. Yeah, but not the height. Just the angle.
that assumes the height. That
Does
assumes
it?
the height.
Do you want to
Come on,
show me
guys.
where? Do you want to give me a citation for where celestial navigation assumes the height of the star, given that it's not touching the fucking ground when it gets to the horizon? We've already gone through this, haven't we, Rebel?
No, we haven't. You
Cite it then. Where does celestial navigation tell you that you need the height of the star? I'd like a citation where it
Nathan,
tells
calm
you
down.
you need height.
Even Matthew gave that admission that celestial navigation says the height of the star is irrelevant. He says that in the video.
Well, I don't care. I'm just saying. I'm just saying the height to the star, the physical distance to the star, will determine the distance of 1 nautical mile.
No, the angle to the star will give you that, Rebel. You've said it 5, no 6, no 7 times. You made it clear the angle gives you that, not the height.
Yes.
Yes. So sit down and shut up. You're getting on my last nerve. Not the height, the bloody angle.
Okay, calm down.
Yeah, well, you've said 6 or 7 times that you use the height to get the distance. Yes, the angle. Then you say, well, then you need the height. No, you need the angle, not the height.
Nautical mile distance, physical distance, comes from the assumption of the elevation. So whatever the elevation, we don't.
No, it doesn't. It comes from the angle measurement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nathan,
It's a very
Master B.
simple math.
Master
Whatever
B,
the
Nathan.
elevation is, we don't care. But your nautical mile physical distance will depend on that elevation.
No, for the 7th or 9th time, it depends on the angle measured, not the elevation.
If you're speaking of nautical miles, nautical
it doesn't
miles,
seem to- it's like I'm talking to a brick
from
wall.
the angle will not change. However, physical
Mr. B,
distance
Nathan.
of what the nautical mile is will change.
Really?
Nautical mile can be a
Listen
mile.
to this.
It can be less than a mile. It can be more than a mile. It will change.
Rebel. Smithsonian reference. A sextant is used to measure the altitude of a celestial body above a horizontal line of reference. Altitude, in quotes, in this case is a special use of the word describing an angular measure, not a distance in feet above sea level. End quote. Now, let's have your citation that says it does need height, even though the Smithsonian say it doesn't.
Yeah, when you say nautical mile, you don't refer to physical distance, do you?
Yes, the distance between you and the GP, so you can find out where the fuck you are.
You have just
Yes, it is distance. Do you want to acknowledge that?
We refer.
You're going to just talk through me rather than acknowledging it. Yes, it is distance between you and GP. That's a yes, not a no.
Right.
Right. So it is distance. It's not based on the height of the star. It's based on the bloody angle to it.
Nautical miles
I think I know what
do
Rebel is getting
depend
mixed
on
up.
the angle. Right.
Not the height, then. So it's dependent on the angle and has nothing to do with its height. How many bloody times? I've just given you a citation from the Smithsonian that makes it explicitly clear it is not to do with the height in feet above sea level.
You're almost there, Nathan. You're almost there. A nautical mile distance depends on the degree of elevation.
Wow. No, you have it completely wrong. Rebel, let me give you an example. Hang on, let me give you an example. If I take an elevation angle to a star and it's 50 degrees, right? My next thing to do is take that 50 degrees and minus it from 90, which is because I'm using a 90 degree. What I'll be left with is 40 degrees. That's my zenith angle. I then multiply that 40 degrees by 60 to give me my nautical, because it'll be 60 degrees per 60 minutes of degree per degree. That will give me my nautical mile, horizontal nautical mile distance along the adjacent. That determines the length of the adjacent. That's the distance between me and the GP point of the celestial body. The height of the celestial body has nothing to do with that extrapolation, nothing to do with that measurement. It's just used, you're just using an angular height. It's perspective. It's a perspective height, and you're using the measurement is based off of perspective. The actual physical distance is based off of perspective.
It has everything to do with physical measurement, though. So that's what I'm trying to point out. Once you say nautical miles, nautical miles derive
from the degree of elevation. Just 1 second, Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's physical. It's its physical height, is it? So it touches the ground when it reaches the horizon, then, Rebel. It's the physical measurement of it, right? Physically touching the ground at the horizon. So you're wrong, then. So it's not physical, then. You're just measuring an angle to a star, as opposed to something physical. It's not going to physically touch the ground because it doesn't reach the ground. We're not getting height.
It's not going to touch the ground because it's the perspective.
So not the physical, then. So the perspective, the not actual, as opposed to what you just said, the physical.
So nautical miles.
Could I ask you a question that might give you an example, I think, of the disconnect here? If I look outside now and I saw an aeroplane going across the sky and I measured its elevation angle, how far away is it?
What's the beginning of it? I only cut the end of it.
So I go outside, I see an aeroplane, a hot air balloon, so it's static. I measure it, the angle to it, 26 degrees. How far away is it?
Yeah. I have no idea.
You wouldn't. Because it's a hot air balloon, yeah? And it's real, it's physical. So you would have to have side lengths and angles to calculate that.
I'll tell you why I don't know. Because I don't know the GP of it, and I don't know the elevation. I have to know both.
There we go. We're getting there, aren't we? But what happens? What happens in celestial navigation? Are we dealing with objects that have physical positions that we're going to need side lengths and angles to calculate extras? Or are we working with the heavens, which is solely perspective based, and has already got a determinant, a scale that we can has a relationship between minutes, seconds, degrees, and therefore and how they're commensurate with distances on the ground. This seems to be the disconnect. I started out saying this is not trigonometry. At no point when you've acquired that distance have you done anything to do with trigonometry at all. And therefore, to try and back extrapolate the angles you've taken and used in celestial navigation and think they're applicable in anything you want to apply to the real world, other than the distance you've acquired, is foolhardy.
Okie dokie.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Can we go back to the video?
You bastardized my argument to suit your narrative. I don't know why you're doing this. It's very simple, guys. Nautical miles, nautical miles, physical distance in terms of nautical miles directly depends on elevation. The problem is elevation is always a...
He's just going to ignore me. He's going to ignore me. Every time he says it's dependent on elevation, and I point out that it's not dependent on elevation, it's an elevation angle measurement. And I'll read out the Smithsonian reference again. A sextant is used to measure the altitude of a celestial body above a horizontal line of reference. Altitude, in this case, is a special use of the word describing an angular measure, not a distance in height above sea level. Smithsonian. End quote. End citation. End rebel's position.
Yep.
No, it doesn't.
So it's everything to do with the height. The Smithsonian's wrong. It's got something to do with the height, even though they're specifically detailing how it's an angle measurement and not a height measurement. They're wrong then, Rebel.
So the height will determine...
That's not what I asked. Are the Smithsonian wrong when they specifically detail how it's not a height above the sea level measured in feet? That's wrong according to you, correct?
So you don't have to be...
It's a yes or no question. Are the Smithsonian wrong when they say it's not about the height, which you say it is? They're wrong then, are they?
Maybe if I present my screen...
Maybe if you just answer, yeah, the Smithsonian are completely wrong, then I'll demand a citation that contradicts it.
No, so if you vary elevation...
That's not what I'm asking. Are the Smithsonian wrong when they specifically contradict you when you say it's about height?
But Smithsonian admits this point.
No, they say it's not about the height. You complete bonehead. Are you deaf? Do you need it repeating, bonehead?
No,
are you deaf, bonehead? It didn't say it was about the height as you are claiming. They specifically detail, quote, altitude in this case is a special use of the word describing an angular measurement, not a distance in feet above sea level. That would be its height, Rebel. You keep affirming that it isn't, but they're wrong, right?
They don't address my point, so I can't say they're...
I have addressed your point with a citation from the Smithsonian. You say it's about height, Smithsonian say no. I've addressed it directly with citation.
I'm saying the difference...
I heard what you're saying. I've addressed it with a Smithsonian citation. Now you address that.
Well, Smithsonian doesn't contradict my point, though.
Really? Why? Because you're saying it's about height and they say it absolutely isn't? Yeah, they're contradicting you, shit for brains. Do you want to address that?
I'm trying to address that.
Go ahead. Smithsonian say it's not about height, you say it is. They specifically detail how it isn't about height and is about angle. You say they're wrong. Go ahead.
Yeah,
So the Smithsonian are wrong. It is about height. Citation for where height is used in celestial navigation. Go.
I'm done.
You know, fucking right, you're done. Yeah, you're done completely. Done. Turn him over. He's cooked. Yeah, Smithsonian say it's not about height. You say it is. I say get me a citation that say it is about height, and you say you're done. Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Rebel. You're done. It's not about the height of the star. You are incorrect. You don't have to like being wrong, but if you're going to try and carry on this conversation, you're going to need a citation.
I'm not wrong.
Yes, you are. You say it's about height. Citation read again from the Smithsonian. Altitude in this case is a special use of the word describing an angular measure, not a distance in feet above sea level, making you wrong.
Correct.
Yes, so you're wrong. It's not about the height, as per the Smithsonian. Sit down, shut your mouth, you're wrong. That means stop talking, you are incorrect, you don't have a citation to back it is about height, Matthew Luntz is not correct, You are both idiots. You are both wrong. You don't have anything to back your stupid nonsense. Now sit down and shut up.
Both idiots. Or you have a poor way of articulating what the fuck you say you're concurring with Matthew. Because everybody that had it or know it, you got everybody scratching their head, just like what Globers do when they interject with asinine, contradictory.
Listen to me.
No, we won't be listening to Rebel. He's a dumb shit who's wrong. And I've proven that with a citation from the Smithsonian. Now you can do what I demand, which is sit down and shut your stupid mouth. Matthew Learns was not correct about needing the height. I've proven that with a citation from the Smithsonian. That's your end of your time here, Rebel. In this regard, you are wrong. Yeah, you're done. That means sit down and shut up. Doesn't mean keep blabbering. You were wrong. So shut up.
Okay, I'm gonna
stop stuttering. Close your fucking mic and shut your stupid mouth. You were wrong trying to back Matthew Learns with saying you need height. No, you do not. As you've already conceded, you're done. So be done and shut up.
Unless he has a citation that contradicts that.
D Rose, you're not helping. D Rose, you're not helping. D Rose.
And you sound like an idiot. That's not.
No, Rebel, you said we need height. Smithsonian say you're wrong. Making you an idiot, how dare you? Shut up, sit down, know how wrong you were. And when you came into White Knight for how right Matthew Learns was, he was also wrong. The citation from the Smithsonian proved that fact that you were wrong about. Don't know why you're here defending Matthew Learns about how right he is about height. It was just your own ignorance getting the better of you, Rebel. Now sit down and shut up.
I'll explain to you.
You sit down and shut up is what you'll do, Rebel. You were wrong. You don't need the height. You need the angle. In celestial navigation, Matthew Learns also admitted it's not used in celestial navigation. You are both incorrect.
He is correct.
Really? You need the height? Let's read Smithsonian's reference again. Altitude, in this case, is a special use of the word describing an angular measure, not a distance in feet above sea level, say the Smithsonian to Rebel, who's wrong and can't shut up, even though he's only, 3 minutes ago declared how done he is? Good lad.
Because you told me to
it means shut up, Rebel. It means
gonna...
stop talking, Rebel. It means you don't have anything further to add. Thank you for your input. It's no longer required. Rebel, you will yield to me telling you to shut the fuck up. You're no longer invited to take part in this discussion because you're babbling through me when you've been proven wrong. So sit down.
No, you're babbling.
Yeah, I will. I'm the host. You'll yield to the host or you'll be removed. You've been demonstrated wrong. Now you can sit down and shut up.
Yes, the only thing you can do.
You just shouted over me.
Yeah, now I'm going to fucking remove you, you stupid twat. Now you're going to get fucking removed, you stupid asshole. Yeah, you just can't tolerate being wrong. So you've got to rumpus the living shit out the host after he proves it by citation. No, Rebel, that's not what's going to happen. Well, my G+ panel decides they're going to do the same. No, you'll just be removed eventually if you can't shut your mouth when you're proven wrong. No humility. Or maybe you just had to rumpus the living shit out of us proving Matthew wrong. Maybe that was your purpose in being here, because you said he was right when he said we needed the height. And then you continued talking after you said you were done. Absolutely outrageous. Piss off. Eventually, I have to do something about people like you who can't accept being wrong and remove them when I tell them to shut up.
We can project parts of the globe onto a flat map, but when it comes to celestial navigation, the distances to GPs can only be correctly calculated.
Calculated? No, we're measuring things, Matthew. Angles to flat baselines to give us GP distances, as discussed only moments earlier with Rebel. That's done with flat measurements, not calculations, my friend. You can extrapolate after you measure. But you're going to be measuring a flat Earth first. You made that explicitly clear for us.
Assuming the Earth is a globe. You can't...
No, we don't need to do that. That's a logical fallacy. One you pointed out, circular reasoning.
Not do celestial navigation on a flat Earth.
What, when you've measured angles off a flat Earth? I'm pretty sure you'd have to have a flat Earth to do that.
With the right triangles and left...
What, the ones that you say we don't need? Those right triangles? The ones used in celestial navigation? With 90 degrees below the base of the star? Yeah, they need a flat Earth for them, Matthew.
Unless you know the distance to the star.
Why? Oh, it seems that that's why Rebel was here, because according to Matthew, we would need the distance to do this on a flat Earth, even though specifically the flat Earth elevation angle measurements that are used to derive distance along a flat surface, quote, altitude in this case is a special use of the word describing angular measure, and not the distance in feet above sea level. So Matthew's just ignorant, just stupid, doesn't understand how celestial navigation, which requires flat baselines, doesn't need the height of a star.
So no, I'm not conceding.
No, you're having your ass handed to you by me. Even with all the white knights in the world that claim to be flat earthers defending your honour as being right when it says you need the height, even though the Smithsonian says otherwise. Yeah, we'll have some arsehole come here and rump us indefinitely, telling us how wrong we are when we've got citations to prove it's not about the height of the star. Yeah, that asshole Rebel's just as big an asshole as you.
The Earth is flat just because we use flat
Nathan,
maps.
just on that, they've both got the same misconception. They're both Dunning-Kruger, that they've done a little bit of reading and they think they understand what celestial navigation is and where and what they can apply it to and how it's universally applicable. And its findings are instantly interchangeable with trigonometry. It's the same issue between Rebel and Matthew here. A little bit of reading half a book and not fully grasping what's going off.
Can I ask a question
back up
to Adam
on
real
that.
quick? Can I ask Adam a question real quick? So in trigonometry, you need to know the height, right? Is that what you're saying?
You might be trying to measure the height. If you know the distance to the GP already, then you can acquire the height with trig. That's not what we're doing. We're doing celestial navigation. It's not trig.
Right. So how would you know the height of a star? It's ridiculous.
We don't need to know the height. We're trying to find out where the hell we are on the ground. We're not traveling to the stars, are we? We don't need the distance to the star because that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to find out where the hell we are on the ground.
Exactly.
That was my point too. This is the problem that these people aren't getting. We use the right angle triangle of the elevation angle, right, which becomes a right angle triangle because we need two parallel zeniths, one at us and one at the GP. So that right angle triangle gives us an angle. We then subtract that angle from 90 and use the remaining angle. We don't use the angle from the elevation angle after that point. We take that, if it's 50 degrees elevation angle, we subtract that from 90, it gives us a 40-degree zenith angle, and it's that angle that is then multiplied by 60 to give us a horizontal ground distance. Not the elevation angle, not the height of the height in degrees. We're not using any height. Doesn't matter what the degrees are. It doesn't matter what way you could work it out using length of size. It has nothing to do with it. People
Meanwhile,
keep on sticking to that.
This is how that represents on a globe. Yeah, and as Matthew has already pointed out, you can't put a straight edge on a globe. So when you're measuring 90 degrees to the ground position, obviously if you've got 90 degrees to this star or sun, then the 90 degree isn't on the ground anymore. You can't put a straight edge on a globe. Yeah, that's why it fails on a globe. You won't ever have the 90 as a ground position. Yet, in reality, when you're triangulating your position with stars, there's 90 degree in front of you, 90 degree behind you, 90 degree to the side of you, for all three stars, all along flat baselines, none of which is conducive to working on a sphere. It can't. The measurements, not the extrapolations after the flat Earth measurements. The measurements only work on a flat Earth.
And yes, I know I didn't say things very well in that live chat, and I wish I could say things differently now.
What, like you conceding and now doubling down on your original assertion that the slow speed is actually fast?
Although we do use flat maps,
That's
projections.
the point, Nathan. He's had the opportunity to say something different. This is what I was saying earlier. But he hasn't, has he? He's just repeated the same thing. He's not addressed any of the points we put to him. He's just first part, he's just re-said the same thing again and again. Just as if that makes it true that suddenly you can have a curved baseline.
But also to retract all the things he conceded here that are on video, with me saying welcome to Flat Earth as a result of his concessions. Well, he wants to retract those subtly on a channel no one's watching. whilst reiterating the original points we overcame that he conceded verbally. He wished he could take those verbal concessions back. So he'll put out a video completely contradicting himself and doubling down on his original assertion, even though he's proven it wrong and given us the angular rates at 7 times the magnitude of a clock that could be measured with an accelerometer. But you won't feel it, and that's the point of the video, to tell you how you won't feel it. Not prove that it's happening. But I can assume it. Here's how logical fallacies work. Circular reasoning. Assume Earth's a sphere, calculate it as a sphere, therefore it's a sphere. Well, no. But if I just say I'm calculating as a sphere, therefore it's a sphere, then it's not a logical fallacy. Yeah, we've got just so far. Have I kept up with you well enough?
Of the globe, I was incorrect to say that functionally and mathematically it's perfectly flat.
So a right-angled triangle is incorrect to be asserted as functionally and mathematically flat? Bonehead. He's telling us that it's not unreasonable to say that right-angled triangles have curved baselines. Really? That's why I say you should be sacked, my friend.
I'd say it like this now.
Can you take a elevation angle off a not quite perfectly spherical surface?
You can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline ever.
No, but what we've got now is, look at that. This is him showing he's genuine. Here's a concession. I was wrong. The Earth isn't exactly perfectly spherical. I'm prepared to have some humility, look, with this concession. But that's no relevance to what we've just been discussing. If that surface is not quite perfectly spherical, but almost, you still can't acquire an elevation angle for it or use it or relate that straight line distance between you and the GP on a not quite perfectly spherical surface. It's yeah, it's a false humility, isn't it?
Now, celestial navigation works by assuming the Earth is a globe.
So when you assume the Earth's a globe and then take this measurement on screen now, does that give you a ground position at the 90 degree? Or do you need a flat baseline? Because as far as I'm concerned, establishing a horizontal with 90 degree below the star isn't assuming Earth's a sphere, because then you wouldn't be getting an angle measurement anymore. So no, you're wrong, Matthew. No, step 1 isn't assume a sphere, it's measure an angle. That isn't assuming a sphere because you can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. So factually, step 1 is measure Earth flat. Not calculate, measure Earth flat. That's step 1.
Isn't there a video about that? A short little video?
Be Here or Be Sphere, weekdays, 2 p.m. UK on Flat Earth Debate.
But you can still use flat map projections of the globe, which are close enough on a smaller scale.
Why? Wouldn't you be using the curved baseline and the curved surface of a curved map when you've measured a flat baseline and then put it on a flat map? So at no point do you use a curved surface. You use a flat map on a Cartesian system that you conceded represents as flat and has no curve in it. That was something else you conceded. So using the Cartesian flat grid or flat map, we can use the flat Earth measurements off a flat baseline to navigate with. So at no point do we need a sphere then, at all. And the globe projections with the latitude lines, those grids, have come from flat Earth elevation angle measurements to Polaris. So to project these grids, we don't need a sphere either. So ultimately, this entire video is to declare how we can measure it flat with angles and flat baselines and 90 degrees. And we can use flat maps and flat charts to navigate. Okay, then.
Of course, things only got worse in the conversation once he felt like he had extracted a concession out of me.
What, the one that you feel like you would have been better off not saying and now need to retract that concession? I felt like I got one that you now need to retract. Oh, but you don't need to retract it because I hadn't got one because it was just my feelings that I'd got one, even though you've actually posted them in this video. Does that sound like the words of a shyster? So why would you be retracting anything if it was only my feelings that I'd got a concession, Matthew? You wouldn't need to retract anything. You wouldn't have any regrets about saying things wrong. What would I have to gloat about? What would you have to retract? Yeah, shyster. Yeah? Scumbag. Make a concession, but say I didn't really need to make the concession. There was nothing to concede to.
So here's some more.
Well, we've already gone through the angle about, 7 times? You know, I had a little gloat about how I'm a student of drama, like trained as an actor. And it took 6 attempts for me to get you to concede that you're not going to get a right angle out of a curve.
Yeah, that's right. You won't get a right angle out of a curve. Why are you shaking your head? He just shook his head. That's why he should be sacked. So if one of his students say, I can get a right angle out of a curve, he will nod because he just said no to that. You just nodded no, Matthew, you stupid buffoon putting your face on to get your reaction to this stuff. Yes. Not no. That is absolutely 100% factually accurate and you shook your head no to it. Sack him.
But you're now going back.
Still shaking your head no? So you think you can get a 90-degree from a curve? No, you can't.
To what you've calculated out of the surface of the angle that you measured was curved. That's utterly absurd. We've already compromised, as just been pointed out by QE.
I didn't concede. But you didn't.
Right, what, you didn't concede that flat baselines and 90s can be curved? So you're now doubling down that they can be curved. Is that what you're saying? I didn't get a concession. Flat baselines aren't flat. They're actually curved. Is that what you're saying?
Compromise.
I don't know what you're doing.
I'm trying to explain.
Was that your muttering of a hand wave in between the devastating position that you now say you can get curve angles? Was that mutter through the middle of it and that'll make it all right? No, Matthew. You conceded correctly so that mathematically flat baselines won't have curves to them. Now you wish you'd taken that back.
What I'm telling the kids.
Yeah, that's right. I'm suggesting you should have your job taken away for this, Matthew. Very serious stuff.
Yeah, I hate you. Yeah, I hate you. You're the reason I homeschool.
Yeah, you, Matthew, you scum. You absolute piece of shit. Yeah, the fact that you can smirk about this stuff while you're telling us that you can get curved angles. Yeah, that's an absolute justification for sacking you. This man thinks that curves give you angles. Sack him.
You're the reason I homeschool my kids, because I don't want people like you to teach my kids. As you chuckle about this. Shut up! Shut up! Stupid man.
He's smiling about this. I think you should have your job for this. I hope others echo my sentiment. You think this is funny? You've just literally conceded that it's unreasonable to declare that flat baselines give you angles and that curves are feasible within that equation. And you think this is funny? No, I think you should be sacked over this. My vitriol and aggression toward you is absolutely justified. And this reaction on screen now reiterates that point.
Telling my audience why I homeschool. Because you, when pointed out and compromised 6 or 8 times, laugh about it. That's why I hate you. And I wouldn't put my kids in front of you.
You think your kids are going to end up as...
I am not going to put my kids in front of you, you lying scum.
Okay, so at this point...
Not okay. No, not okay. Should be sacked for it. Not okay. No, lying scumbags who say you get angles from curves should be sacked if they're teaching children. That's a fact. And I hope people in the audience see that and recognise that you are a lying scumbag. You lie by omission. You've made these videos that give concessions about circular reasoning only to then use them 20 seconds later. You're a scumbag.
The conversation had fully devolved, and don't worry.
Devolved? No, you'd made a few concessions, and then I told you that the reason I wouldn't put my kids in front of you is because you're a lying, deceitful scumbag. That's not devolving, it's pointing out that you're a scumbag. You see it as a devolution of the conversation because you were proven wrong. You gave concessions that made you wrong. And now you're going back on those concessions, reiterating my point that I wouldn't let my kids anywhere near you because you're a deceitful, lying scumbag who shouldn't have the position of educating children.
I don't take it personally.
You should. Take it personally, you lying, deceitful, scumbag fraud. You shouldn't be teaching children. I hope people watching recognise that.
I know he's expressing hatred for the idea.
Hatred for you. You and your lies and deceit. And the fact that you are in a privileged position, a trusted position to educate children. That's my disgust. It's directly towards you. It is personal.
People would intentionally lie to his kids or to...
No, you would. Not people. Don't try and extrapolate this out into a mass of people. You, the shyster lying scumbag, would lie to my children. You lie to me.
Kids in general.
Yeah, your pupils, that's who you lie to.
And I actually agree with him. I don't like that either. Of course, I don't think I'm doing that.
Well, when you told them about how you calculated Earth's sphericity from Alexandria with angles, did you omit to tell them that that also worked on a flat Earth? Because in your explanation of what you disseminated to the children, you lied by omission. I have that on record.
And he does, but that's why...
I've proven you a liar. Proven. Here today.
I don't take it personally.
You should, because it's me telling you personally with proof and facts that you are a liar and demonstrations of you lying. Demonstrations of you being scum. Demonstrations of you making concessions that you only want to retract in a shitty video that's not directed to the 500,000 people you've lied to. Yeah? Some shitty other video that you can concede and double down on all the things that you already came here and admitted you were wrong about. So you're just the perfect example of a pure scumbag.
So what matters, I don't care about your opinion thereafter, it's a fact. Not something you can question or query. That's a fact. It's my justification why I wouldn't let my kids anywhere near you. Because you're
Yeah, and I echo that sentiment. These aren't up for questions. It's not disputable that you're a liar. That's a fact. I've proven it here with your own bloody words.
Lie to them. And when somebody points out how you've lied to them, you chuckle. You think it's amusing. That's why I hate you. Hate cats. Hate all of the people in this arena who know better that have been told, like you've been told, about how wrong they are and how they're using logical fallacies. And at the end of the process, you laugh. You disgust me, teacher. You should be sacked, and you can shut your mouth while I berate you.
Okay, so he said that I needed to shut my mouth while...
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you need it permanently shutting. In reference to how you disseminate lies to children, that should be permanently shut, as far as I am concerned.
While he was still berating me, and I shouldn't have interrupted him.
You shouldn't be stuttering now. You should have confidence. You should seem assertive, like I am when I say you should be fired. Yeah, this stuttering, bumbling buffoon of a man in front of you is a deceitful shit.
Well, he was in the middle of that. And also, I shouldn't have said that I was laughing at his anger. So laughing at someone is not helpful. And I shouldn't have even mentioned his kids. So sorry about that.
You disgust me, and I do believe you should be fired. The very fact that you've come here, have you taken down your video with the incorrect information that you conceded here when you joined? Have you taken that down?
No, and
Yep. So here we are with a response where he doubles down on the thing that he's already conceded and admits that he would prefer he hadn't said it, but it's not really me getting anything out of him in forms of a concession, even though he's retracted the very concession that he says I haven't got out of him. He wish he hadn't said the words, but they're not really a concession, because here's me doubling down on curve angles.
Scum! Fire him!
But basically, I didn't really say anything more after that. Near the end of the show, he talked a bit about YouTube bias, so here's what he said about that.
Bearing in mind YouTube...
Who cares? Sorry, is this a bit of a non sequitur after you've had your ass handed to you? You've just declared curve angles. That was your last argumentation prior to this, that it was perfectly justified to say a flat baseline can have a curve, and that ground positions aren't anything to do with the ground, and that we need a height to the star if we're doing it on a flat Earth when we measure flat Earth angles. That's your positions that you've taken in this video. And not only that, you've doubled down that, no, we need to focus on the small numbers when I tell you how undetectable Earth's rotation is. Even though Adam's gone and dug out citations that say your comparison of a clock could even have detectable acceleration by an accelerometer. But you're not telling your audience how we can detect it, you're making apologetics for why we can't. And then we point out how unreasonable it is with your mathematical magicry. You tell us that, oh yeah, well, I could see how that might be deceptive, only to then double down on it again here in this video to nobody.
You bland. We are the ones getting suppressed. We are the ones... Has he taken video he put up? Well, now I'm demanding he takes it down and commends me for correcting him. Yes, so I do actually get some promotion when I correct these idiot mathematicians who teach our kids.
Did I get it? Did I get that promotion to your 500,000 people you deceived when you didn't take down a video? Were your concessions that you want to reassert the positions that you conceded here going out to those same 500,000 people? No. Absolutely not. This is buried on some nobody channel, isn't it, Matthew? I wonder why.
And actually, he's right that YouTube has intentionally been demoting flat Earth content on their platform.
Yeah, we know.
Finally, at the end, he did thank me for being on the show, which was kind of a nice gesture.
The people who have come and had the education from us, we've told them as advanced heliocentric understanders that they're wrong. And in this instance, Matthew's come on the show and told us how wrong he was.
But according to him, it wasn't a concession. And he didn't need to retract the words he retracted. Because he's a scumbag.
Conceded. So at that point, I've got nothing but disdain for him. If he's going to say, well, I still think it's a sphere and I'm going to tell the kids anyway. Well, then you're going to get every bit of thunder that I can possibly muster. But with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, obviously a huge, massive, enormous thank you to Matthew for tolerating my disdain and having the to do it. Props to you, Matthew. On the other hand, from a YouTube perspective, I've got a lot of admiration for the courage that you actually had to come on here and actually face our criticisms and debate with us. So
I retract every single word. Why? Because the coward has put this up on his shitty little channel. And instead of conceding as he did in front of me when I made this admiration for Matthew, he's doubled down on the things he now wishes he hadn't said. So my admiration is now zero. I retract every word of this. You want to play this and make out like I had some admiration? Yet when I got concessions out of you that you're now saying you wish you hadn't said, so what, you think that is still echoed? Absolutely not, Matthew. Now I just think you should be sacked. Nothing else. No thanks. No applause for being courageous. Was this courageous on your channel to nobody? Did you contact me and let me know that you'd responded with a link in a video that's going out to nobody? No, you didn't, Matthew, because you're a coward. A coward, a shyster, a scumbag, a liar, a fraud, and you should be fired.
Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, so that was my experience of the Nathan Oakley Flat Earth Debate Show.
Yeah, it didn't end there, mate. Yeah, I found your video and responded to it within 24 hours. Ripped you another new one and continue to assert that hopefully people recognise what a lying, deceitful scumbag you are based on your behaviour in this video that you presumably hoped would reach nobody. Just the 97 people who've watched it, yeah? No, it's going to go out to 25,000 people now, potentially. If I wasn't being censored, as you admit we are.
So it's quite an experience, almost like a rite of passage or something.
What, to disclaim that you need flat earth baselines and right angle triangles and such like, only to then declare that you wish you hadn't said that after the fact? What, rite of passage into what, bullshittery and reassertions?
I will also say thanks to Nathan for covering my video and for talking to me on his show. It was definitely a learning experience. Let's put
what did you learn? You doubled down on the stuff you conceded.
It that way. I do have some more clips from other people, from other shows and things, but I think this video is long enough, so I'll leave that for another time.
I don't mind taking 3.5 hours over this, Matthew. You know, pretty serious stuff when I'm concerning the education of children. Yeah, I'll take my time over ripping you a new asshole. Right, that's the end of the video. Any comments before I round out this live show and ask people to stay tuned?
That was
right path.
That was
adorable.
All right then. Well, if no one's got any comments, with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!